with the election addresses from those standing for President and Vice President. As stipulated by the SOC protocols yesterday, I will call candidates in alphabetical order. First for the position of President, and then for the position of Vice President. Each candidate will have up to 5 minutes to address Congress. Please keep to time, colleagues. If you are a candidate and not already sat at the front, please make your way down. I'll now call first Gordon Gibbs.
Congress, I'll be quick in what I've got to start. I'll start again. I'll start. Congress, my name is Gordon Gibbs and I work for Dudley MBC. My substantive post was a road worker gang leader in highways, commonly known in Dudley as a tarmacker. But I am a proud GMB member of one of the 7 regions in our union. You may want to think about that. I became a workplace representative on the 1st of April 1996. And in September 1999, I was appointed Acting Branch Secretary, and in January 2000, I was elected Branch Secretary for C80 Branch Dudley, a general branch which has members in various workplaces and industries outside of Dudley MBC. I was the only trade union official to give evidence at an equal pay tribunal, which GMB won for women workers in Dudley in 2011. In 2012, T80 Branch Dudley, along with Wolverhampton Branch, W99 Branch, working together, negotiated a single status agreement in both councils. My understanding is that these are the only signed single status agreements in the country. They were not imposed on our members. My first term of office on the CEC was in 2003, and last year, after the CEC elections, I started my 6th consecutive term of office along with a fellow colleague. We are both the second joint longest serving members of the CEC. I have been a member of the Finance and General Purposes Committee for 4 years. I have been an active member of the Labour Party, and since 1996 I was an agent for a prominent MP, and I have a good understanding of how politics can work for our trade union movement, which was expressed by our General Secretary. My view for the future of the GMB, if I was elected as the next national president, I would do so as a working branch secretary, because the world of work is at the heart of everything we do for working people. We should also remember the greatest asset GMB has are our workplace representatives who work tirelessly day in and day out, supporting our members in membership in workplaces. I would also like to see closer working relationships with GMB regional organisers to support our workplace representatives and give them confidence and the skills to do what GMB do best, representing workers. We have a changing world of work and it is moving fast. With AI and net zero, we must be ready to transition into supporting workers into these industries by organising them. And you heard that with the potteries. There needs to be a transition from one role, and that's what we need to be doing, organising. We have a Labour government which we must campaign and hold to account to implement the Employment Rights Bill to support our members and make sure it is not watered down. I just want to raise a few points from what I've said today. Again, the strength of our union will be our workplace representatives, the people in this hall today who need support. We must offer that support because the world of work, again, is changing. On single status, this is an important issue. You've heard a lot of people come up here from ASDA, from local government. We got it right in Dudley. This happened for us and Wolverhampton in 2012. That is important. There are 2 elements, the equal pay and the pay structure. And what we got supported our women workers. Just back to the AI and the net zero and the triple SMB. It's now back on the cards. What we need to do is ensure that triple SMB works along the lines that it did for the old, and some people who are nursery nurses will understand that under the Green Book, they had a clear structure, a profession. That's where the triple SMB needs to be going. And I'll just leave you with this one thing. People who know me know that I bring people together. That is what I'm known for. And why I say that, because I've already said that I'm a proud member of one of the 7 GMB regions, whichever one it is. Thank you, conference.
Barbara Plant.
Chair, Congress, Barbara Plant, Southern Region. Elections are a sign of a healthy democracy, so I'm pleased to be here asking for your vote. Thanks to those regions that nominated me, especially my own region. It's been an honour, a privilege, a pleasure to have served as your president for the past 7 years. Over those years, our union has faced many challenges and celebrated many achievements. Most importantly, we are now a union that puts members' voices at its heart, placing their daily workplace experiences at the core of making work better. It is workers who determine the issues for our campaigns. I'm proud that we are taking on bad employers across the UK. I'm proud that we are delivering equal pay for women, doing some of the most vital jobs in our country. And I'm proud that our membership has grown during my term. We had the external risks of COVID and Brexit to deal with, as well as an internal inquiry. But we can all be proud that because of the Monaghan report, we now have a sexual harassment policy in our rulebook. We have sent positive ripples across the labour movement, prompting other unions to look at themselves. Dr. Henry's report has led to the GMB Race Achievement Scholarship Programme, paving the way for more representative structures within our union. In 2020, we celebrated a historic milestone, appointing our first ever woman regional secretary. When I stood for election in 2018, I said then that promoting equality and diversity within the GMB was an issue I felt strongly about. They were not empty words. We are not there yet, but in a far better place, I believe, than we were 7 years ago. It's been an absolute joy as president to travel the length and breadth of our union, meeting members in their various workplaces, learning about their working conditions, whether that's in a shipyard, a pottery factory, a biscuit factory, an Asda distribution centre, a whiskey bottling plant, a workshop that makes cathedral organs, or a nuclear power station, to name but a few. I have aimed to truly be your national president, accessible to all, happy to be invited and travel to events wherever they are held. As I said also in 2018, we are a trade union in the 21st century, but our roots and structures stem from the late 19th century. Therefore, we must be willing to look at, reflect on ourselves and change. And in the last 7 years, we have become a more open, transparent union. The CEC now receive the minutes from the SMT meetings. I meet with regional presidents quarterly. Regional presidents are invited to CEC meetings as observers, if not already elected on there. A CEC handbook has been created. We now have standing orders for CEC meetings. There is a newly formed branch working party and a rulebook working group. No longer do we work in silos, but share best practice across regions and nations, learning from each other. Thanks to your support and all your hard work, we can be proud that we are making GMB the best union possible, with members at the heart of that process. I have chaired 5 successful congresses, and I would be honoured to be back in Blackpool next year, still serving as your president. Transformational change is difficult and never quick. We have achieved much together over the past 7 years, but there is still more to do, which is why I ask for another term to continue working with the CEC and the General Secretary. Thank you for everything you do, for being part of this wonderful GMB family, for listening and hopefully for your vote. Let's keep making work better together. Thank you.
We'll now do the election for the Vice President, and the first one up is Tracy Ashton.
No pressure, guys, eh? Good morning, Chair. My journey starts with my roots. My mum and my dad, they were grafters, quiet, working-class heroes who taught me that dignity lies in how we serve others, not how loudly we shout. That rubbed off in me. I started out in nursing, both in public and private sectors, and later moved into youth service. I learned to listen, to advocate, and to fight for better. One day a colleague said to me, "Hey Tracy, you in a union?" Nah. That didn't last long. Within a month, I was at my first GMB branch meeting, and not long after, I became a rep in education. I had two brilliant mentors. I learned that leadership isn't about talking over people, it's about listening, showing up, and standing firm. I served as branch president for over 20 years. I was elected to Regional Equality Forum, where I continue to serve. I've met incredible people along the way: Dorothy Mills, Peggy Blythe, Tayumba Nosakiri, Sarah James, and our Phil, and the brilliant staff in our office. These folks aren't just colleagues, they're the soul of the union. I still remember the first time I stood up to present a motion. The nerves were real. It felt like elephants jumping backflips in my stomach, and believe you me, they still are. These nerves haven't fully gone, but they remind me to care, and I do. Later, I joined the Regional Council and eventually the CEC, representing disabled members in the National Reserve seat. I'm now into my second term, and what a ride it's been. We hit the ground running. COVID struck, members were scared, isolated, vulnerable, and the union stepped up because that's what we do. I also joined the appeals panel. I was told, "Don't worry, it'll hardly ever meet." Famous last words. I've spent so much time in London, I'm thinking of applying for a freedom pass, but never mind. Some moments that stand out: winning my first case, working with Show Racism, the Red Card, helping implement Die in the Work campaign in my local authority, getting my rugby club to sign up to the Man Enough campaign, and of course Congress, carrying my region's new banner into this very hall 2 years ago. Martin, thank you for that honour. It also went a few weeks later when I carried it at Durham at the Miners' Gala, my home city. These stories aren't just memories, they're reminders of what makes GMB special. We're not just a trade union, we're a movement, and movements don't sit still. We're also about our members, moving with them, being there for them, and being wherever they need support. The challenges we face are real: outsourcing, 0-hour contracts, cuts to the public services, erosion of hard-won rights. But if there's one thing I know, it's this: the GMB does not hold back. We fight for injustice, we organise, and we win. And now we need to go further. We need to invest in our reps and develop the next generation. We need to grow our branches, reach every corner of sectors, and bring more voices to the table. We need to fight not only for pay, conditions, but for respect, dignity, and the right to be heard. This isn't about slogans, it's about values. I believe in the power of unity. I believe in leadership that is grounded, accountable, and ready to face hard truths. And I believe this union's best days are still to come. If I'm elected Vice President, I will bring the same grit, compassion, and drive that brought me to that first branch meeting all those years ago. I'll listen, I'll lead, I'll act. I've stood on picket lines, I've marched through our streets, I've fought case after case, and through it all, I've never lost faith in what we can achieve. So I'm not asking for a title. I'm here asking for your trust. Let's build this future together, because while I was born in Wallsend, I was made in the GMB. Thank you, Congress.
Kevin Buchanan.
President, Congress. Kevin Buchanan, seeking your support and your vote for the role of Vice President. I'm not normally the subject of my own speeches, so I must confess this is really outside my comfort zone. I've spent years as an activist campaigning and representing collectives or members, not speaking about me as an individual. So what to talk about? Well, many of you don't know me, so I better tell you a little bit about me, or rather me and the GMB. How do you condense a lifetime as an activist into 5 minutes? Well, let's have a go. Throughout my working life as an activist, I've had the privilege of supporting and representing members in a wide variety of workplaces, many of which presented very substantial and daunting challenges. I'm sure that's something you're all familiar with. I've also experienced the challenges of being unemployed while supporting my family. I know all too well the choices you have to make while surviving in benefits for prolonged periods and the toll that it takes on you and your loved ones. So why did I choose to be an activist? I was raised in a family where helping and protecting others was what we did. That's why I became an activist, because it's the right thing to do when your colleagues need you. What do I want for the GMB? The GMB has a duty to fight and protect members' jobs, services, employment rights, and promote equality. As an activist and member of the CEC, I have worked determinedly to ensure that the interests and protection of GMB members are at the top of our campaign agenda. There were times during the last CEC, prior to the publication of the Monaghan report, where I was very much a lone voice in the CEC for arguing for a forensic financial review to ensure that proper and effective financial controls were in place following questions about the management of our union funds. After considerable initial resistance, I succeeded in persuading the CEC to conduct a detailed review of expenditure controls, to give us, the members, confidence in the financial reports we were receiving. I believe our current financial controls are now without peer in the trade union movement. I was very vocal in my support of the subsequent investigation and very challenging report by Karen Monaghan, KC. I confess I was critical of the Working Party in expressing my frustration at the length of time taken to produce the recommendations for the report, and reminding the CEC that the Working Party's role was to make recommendations, and it was CEC's and this Congress's charge to make the decisions on the basis of those recommendations. After all, it's the primary duty of the CEC and Congress to interrogate all the reports presented to it. Whilst other major trade unions are reportedly currently experiencing major internal turmoil, reports I sincerely believe, I think, would put our most challenging issues behind us. We are well on our way to healing as a CEC and as a trade union, but it's a journey, and with experience, we will find other acts to improve the GMB for its members. I will do all I can to speed that process and ensure that our union, the GMB, is focused entirely on promoting the interests of members and to make sure we have a union we can all be proud of. I think I've demonstrated to you that I don't always go with the flow. I'm not afraid to challenge other members of the CEC or officers when I believe it's the right thing to do. But when I make contributions, no matter how controversial or challenging, I do it in the sincere aim always to be constructive and act in the best interest of the members. The President and Vice President are charged with ensuring the rules of the GMB are observed and adhered to. This is a responsibility I would take very seriously to ensure that the governance of the GMB by both the CEC and the senior management team are within rule. If you decide to bestow upon me the enormous honour and privilege of serving as your Vice President of the GMB, I will do all I can to ensure our activists are skilled to provide the best representation and advocacy for all our members, and very importantly to recruit new members, so essential for the growth of our union. If elected, I will make every effort to be available to support our members in their campaigns throughout the union. If I can lend support to members anywhere, I would be happy and privileged to do so. What about the future? I mean, what are the challenges that are coming for us? I mean, AI is rightly viewed with some trepidation, but we also have to examine the resurgence of Trump, the rise in popularity of reform in the UK, the resurgence of the right now in many countries. Yes, I do worry about artificial intelligence, but I'm more concerned about original ignorance fed to reform voters by social media platforms such as X. All my acts and decisions...
Kevin, can you wind up now, please?
Yeah,
You had your 5.
We continue to evolve, and as I have said, and I'll make sure this doesn't happen, by the way. We continue to evolve, and as I said, I will work tirelessly for you in the future to make the union better. Thank you very much.
Sonia Davies.
Sisters, brothers, esteemed members of our union, firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Malcolm Sage for his many years of dedicated service to our union. Thank you, Malcolm. I stand before you not just as a candidate for Vice President, but as a woman whose journey has been shaped by resilience, conviction, and an unyielding commitment to justice. My story is one of struggle, growth, and an unbreakable resolve to ensure that every worker's voice is heard, respected, and amplified. I am Sonia, and I'm here to ask for your trust and support and to lead as your Vice President to make our union truly member-led, fair, safe, and fiercely anti-racist. When I first joined Wandsworth in 2006, I didn't fully grasp the power of a union. I had previous experience in similar roles, confident in my ability to navigate workplaces without needing collective support. But life has a way of teaching us lessons we didn't know we needed. When my probation was unfairly extended, I turned to a union for help. That experience was disappointing, to say the least. The representative I relied on did nothing to advocate for me, and I walked away disillusioned, cancelling my membership. But Congress, that moment planted a seed, a realisation that unions could and should be so much more, if only they were led by people who truly cared. In 2010, I found my home in the GMB at Wandsworth. I attended a branch meeting, listened, questioned, and joined, determined to make a difference. We need more people to not just join our union, but to step up and build our union too. I trained as a representative, but I saw a branch struggling, barely functioning with minimal representation. I knew it could be better. In 2015, I stepped up by being elected as branch secretary, determined to rebuild and strengthen our collective voice, living my principles and committing to rebuild our movement from the bottom up. Then came the darkest chapter of my life. Just 6 months into my role, I was suspended on baseless grounds, a clear attempt to silence me for challenging injustice. At the time, I was also caring for my mother, who was battling with dementia. Those were grueling months. I did not inform my family of my suspension, carrying the weight alone, tending to my mother's fading health. When she passed away that December, I kissed her goodbye, and I felt something profound. An unexplainable strength she passed to me, her youngest daughter, one of 6 siblings, raised with love and resilience. That strength has carried me forward. After 4 agonising months, I was cleared of all allegations, a witch hunt exposed for what it was. When I returned to work, I didn't just shrink back. I demanded a meeting with the director, and I held them accountable for failing me both as an employee and as a branch secretary. I wanted to ensure that no other worker would ever face what I had to endure. That experience didn't break me, it galvanised me. It lit a fire in me to ensure no worker ever feels abandoned or unheard. My mother's strength, together with my own, became my guiding light to fight injustice in every workplace. Since then, I've poured my heart into our union. I've served on countless internal GMB committees, Vice Chair for National Lifelong Learning, sat on the Labour Party's Ford Report, and I've championed many issues. I'm proud that my Richmond and Wandsworth branch has grown to over 2,700 members. Having completed the tutors course, I also facilitate GMB courses for Shrewsbury College, empowering others to lead. My journey with the union has been both challenging and exciting in equal measures, meeting incredible people along the way who have given me the support and the confidence to go for it, so here I am. Why do I want to be your Vice President? Because I believe in a union that is truly member-led, one that listens to every voice, fights every injustice, and stands unwaveringly against racism and discrimination. My life's trials have taught me that fairness isn't given, it's fought for. I've faced betrayal and loss, yet I've risen stronger, driven by the belief that every worker deserves dignity, respect, and a union that has their back. As your Vice President, I commit to honouring the Karen Monaghan report and its recommendations by ensuring that our union is a beacon of fairness, where no one is silenced, no grievance is ignored, where every member feels empowered, and where diversity is celebrated, where anti-racism and equality is not just a goal, but a reality woven into everything we do. So Congress, I ask for your vote, not just for me, but for the vision of a union that stands tall, united and...
Sorry, Sonia, can you finish now, please?
I believe in smashing glass ceilings. A vote for me will be a vote for smashing yet another GMB glass ceiling. Thank you.
Dave Douglas.
Chair, friends, comrades, Dave Douglas, North East Yorkshire and Humber region, rep, activist, gas man, standing to be our National Vice President. This union runs on people who do the hard work, the unseen work, often in their own time, for the sake of others. I want to thank you and your families for giving us your valuable time. I've been a GMB rep for nearly 20 years. I started on the tools. I'm still there now, as a gas engineer. I've led members through disciplinaries, fought over 40 days of strike action, sat across the table from millionaire executives, and sat down with government ministers. I've had members sob down the phone. I've had to hold the line when taking a promotion or when walking away would have been easier. In all my time with the GMB, the strikes, the negotiations, the wins, the losses, there's one moment I'll never forget, and I'm sure we've all got one. 14 years ago, I was driving a member home after he'd been sacked. No notice, no severance, just out the door. We turned his street, and there she was, his wife, locked out of his house, with his 6 kids, one clinging to her coat, waiting in the cold. He sat there in silence next to me, head in his hands, broken. And in that moment, I had one choice. I could have let him out and said, "Good luck, mate," and driven off like it wasn't my problem. But that's not what we do. I went home, pulled the policies apart, found the cracks. We rallied the members, built the appeal, and took it back to them. We got his job back. He's there. He's still there. Thank you. He's still there now. He's one of our strongest reps, and he'll be retiring soon with his dignity and his pension, and he'll tell you straight, it was our union that made the difference, and that's what the GMB means. It's never just a workplace issue. It's someone's future, it's someone's home, it's someone's life. Today, I'm bringing together frontline manufacturing and energy workers to make sure our voices are heard in our workplaces, in our communities, and at the very top of government. I've done this as a lay member, not on a full-time deal, not with a special pass, just like many of you here, balancing the job, my family, the union work and the responsibility. That's who I am. That's what I've done, and that's the energy I'll bring as your Vice President. Congress, I'm not afraid of the difficult conversations. Ask any of the gas engineers. I'll challenge senior leaders where I work, and I'll do it in this union. Calmly, firmly, and with purpose, because decisions made at the top shape what happens on the ground. Privatisation has turned many industries into machines for shareholder profit. Pensions slashed, skills forgotten, frontline staff pushed harder for less. And unless we push back, that race to the bottom will drag our members with it. As Vice President, I want to be the voice in the room that doesn't forget what it's like on the ground, the weight of the job, the pressures our members face, the toil it takes when they've got nowhere else to turn. I'll be a Vice President standing alongside you as you fight for change, a Vice President who always puts members first, without fear or favour, a voice from the front line of working life, direct to that top table. Sometimes people ask me what it felt like when we lost the fire and rehire at British Gas, and I'll tell you, it felt bloody terrible. But today, as I watch fire and rehire being made illegal, I'm so proud for what we fought for. As our own rule book says, there's no limit to what this union can achieve. So Congress, if you want a worker's voice at that top table, an experienced, battle-hardened activist, and someone who always puts members first, then please give me your support. Solidarity, brothers and sisters. Up the working class, forward together, long live the GMB.
Kevin Jones.
President, Congress, Kevin Jones, Wales of the South West Region. Colleagues, President, Congress, sisters and brothers, it gives me great pride, deep humility and unwavering commitment that I stand before you today to ask for your support in nominating me as your Vice President of our great union, the GMB. I joined the GMB in 1979 and I've been a member for 46 years. During that period, I've held positions as branch shop steward, branch president, Equality Officer and currently Branch Secretary and Convener with Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council. I'm also the Regional President of the Wales South West Region. I come to you not as a stranger, but as a lifelong trade unionist with decades of service to the union and its members throughout those years. I've sat on many committees, including the Central Executive Council, and always have one unwavering focus, our members. For the very beginning of my journey, 46 years, my purpose has been clear: to listen, to stand up, and to speak out for working people. I've always delivered and believed that the voice of the member must come first. And if given the honour of serving you as Vice President, that voice will continue to guide every decision I make. I come from the Republic of Merthyr Tydfil, a small village within the Welsh Valleys, where community isn't just where we live, it's who we are. In our villages and towns, solidarity runs deep. People look after each other, they work hard, and they stand together in times of hardship. It's there where I learned the true meaning of the trade unionism, not just as a structure, but as a way of life. The same spirit of the community has shaped everything I do. I've spent years supporting Macmillan Cancer Charities, British Heart Foundation, and the Welsh Air Ambulance, and other charities of local action groups. Because I believe that our work as trade unionists cannot begin and end in the workplace, it must extend into the very fabric of our society. Congress, I am fully committed to supporting the President, the General Secretary, and every single region and branch of this union. Together, we must ensure that our values, fairness, dignity, respect and justice are not just words in the rule book, but principles we live by every day of our lives across all our nations. We are a proud union with a proud history, but it's not just enough to honour that history. We must protect it, and we must build on it, and as Vice President, I will work tirelessly to ensure the GMB members remain strong, member-led and focused on the matters most, protecting our people, improving their lives and defending their rights. I don't believe that in titles for the sake of titles. I believe in leadership that listens, leadership that unites and leadership that delivers. If elected, I will be visible, accessible and active. I will be a Vice President who works with you, not above you. A Vice President who takes the concerns of the rank and file and carries them to the top. A Vice President who always remembers where they come from. Comrades, I ask you for your support, not just for me as a candidate, but for the continued vision of our union that belongs to its members, that fights for what is right, and never forget who we are and who we serve. Let us keep our union strong, let us honour our past and secure our future, and let us do it together. As we say in Wales, stronger together, we can win for our members if you're all on the same team and not divided. Thank you for your trust, your time and your continued belief in the GMB of our great union that puts members first, solidly as always. Thank you, colleagues, for listening, and I ask you to consider voting for me to be your Vice President of this great union. Thank you, Congress.
Congress, we are now continuing with Congress business. The ballot papers and ballot boxes will be distributed following the political speaker in this morning's business. I will announce from the platform when the ballot opens. We now move into motions under employment policy rights at work, which you kindly agreed to carry over from yesterday's business. Just to further update you, we will be debating motions 131 and Composite 7 on Thursday morning, which has been agreed with the regions concerned. Can the movers of motion 130, 132 and 133 please be ready to speak, and the motion 130 to the rostrum. The mover of 130 to the rostrum, please.
President, Congress, Anthony Jackson, North East Yorkshire and Humber Region, first time delegate, first time speaker. Thank you. Moving motion 130, urgent need for tighter guidance around grievance procedure. How many times have you heard our members say, I've submitted grievances before and they've never been dealt with? Or we never hear or find out if the grievance has ever even been investigated because the employers just don't tell us. We believe that current ACAS guidelines around the grievance procedure, which a large proportion of employers mirror, is both insufficient, inadequate and lacking in fairness. Most employers hold some form of hearing and carry out a full investigation when looking to take an employee through the disciplinary process. We may not always agree that certain aspects of this process are either fair or impartial, but there is at least an opportunity to put forward a member's case fully prior to a decision being made. A rising number of grievance outcomes are via a letter from the employer, with no explanation as to what information has been collated in the investigation or what may or may not happen as a consequence of the initial grievance. We acknowledge that current guidance states employees should be given the opportunity to put forward their case, but there is no further opportunity to respond to statements collated from the investigation. How are our members supposed to believe that the grievance has fully been investigated? Surely this is both unfair and prejudiced. We also call for tighter guidelines when employers receive a grievance. It transpires that some companies do not deem a grievance as a priority and are therefore put on ice, sometimes for weeks and in extreme cases, months. This has a negative effect on our members. Current guidance has been in place now since March the 11th, 2015. That's over 10 years. Surely it's time the process and guidance were both reassessed and updated. Congress, I move. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Seconder.
Sue Atkinson from North East Yorkshire and Humberside. How many times have you heard the same story when asking people to put in a grievance? No, not going to bother. Never gets anywhere. Waste of time. 6 months along and the same thing will happen again. It takes a lot of courage to submit a grievance. Most people are at the end of the tether. We need to make companies take on the responsibility of taking grievances seriously and for them to be done in a reasonable time frame, not making people wait months. Our members deserve a good working environment and the knowledge that their issues will be resolved. Please support this motion.
Thank you, Susan. 132.
President Congress, Jeff Sutton from the perfectly formed Wales and the South West region, move in motion 132. Remember, I got Malcolm. Colleagues, today we stand at a pivotal moment for working people across the UK. For too long, new employees have had to wait, sometimes for years, before gaining the full rights and protections they deserve. This has left millions vulnerable to unfair dismissal, insecure contracts and exploitation, undermining both their dignity and their ability to build a better life for themselves and their families. But change is at hand. The new Employment Rights Bill promises to sweep away the outdated 2-year qualifying period, delivering on a GMB-backed commitment to ensure that all workers receive protection from unfair dismissal from day one on the job. No longer will probation be a loophole for insecurity. Instead, it will be a period of genuine support and assessment, with government setting clear standards and guarantees for every starter. This is not just about fairness, it's about building a modern economy that works for everyone, where when workers feel secure and valued, they're more productive, more innovative, and more likely to stay and grow with their employer. Businesses benefit from a more committed workforce, and our society as a whole reaps the rewards of greater stability, equality and opportunity. By ensuring that full employment rights are granted as soon as employment begins, we are sending a clear message that every worker matters from the very first day. We are building a future where no one is left behind, where every job is a good job, and where the law stands firmly on the side of working people. Let us seize the moment. Let us stand together for dignity, security and justice in every workplace. Congress, please support this motion.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Seconder.
President, Congress, Nicola Griffiths, Wales and South West region, seconding motion 132. Colleagues, the GMB has always fought for the rights of working people, and this campaign is no different. By backing the call for full employment rights immediately after probation, we are championing a simple principle: fairness from the start. The new Employment Rights Bill reflects our values. It will remove the 2-year wait for unfair dismissal protections and exploitative practices like zero-hour contracts and guarantee day one rights for parental leave, sick pay, and more crucially, it recognises the importance of a fair, transparent and supportive probation period set by the government so that both workers and employers know where they stand. This is a game changer for millions. It will give new starters the confidence to speak up, to join a union and to build a future without fear of arbitrary dismissal. It will help businesses attract and retain talent, and it will make our labour market stronger and fairer for all. Let's make sure that the new bill delivers on these promises. Let's ensure that every worker, regardless of background or contract, gets the protection and respect they deserve as soon as they finish probation. Congress, please support this motion and help us build a better, fairer world of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. Mover of 133.
President, Congress, Alison Gentry, London Region, moving motion 133. First time delegate, first time speaker. I appreciate you. I rise to propose the motion Workers' Protections from Artificial Intelligence, Transparency, Accountability and Job Security. The rapid integration of artificial intelligence and algorithmic decision-making systems is transforming our workplaces. While AI brings opportunities for efficiency and innovation, it also presents significant risks to workers, risks we cannot ignore and that require our immediate attention. Today, workers face decisions about hiring, performance, task assignments and even terminations made by AI systems, often without transparency or recourse. These systems can change overnight, with workers left in the dark about how or why their jobs are affected. The lack of transparency can lead to biased, unfair or discriminatory outcomes, especially for our most vulnerable or marginalised colleagues. This Congress must demand that workers have the right to know how decisions affecting their employment are made. We must insist on the right to understand and review changes to algorithms that impact our work. Workers should never be subject to black box decisions that cannot be explained or challenged. Beyond transparency, we must address the threat of job displacement. AI-driven automation is already eliminating roles across industries. We need proactive measures to protect workers and ensure a just transition. That means employers must assess the impact of AI, provide upskilling and reskilling opportunities, and guarantee fair severance and support for those displaced. Our motion calls for robust safeguards against bias and discrimination. Regular audits of AI systems must be mandatory, with worker representation on oversight bodies. No worker should suffer discrimination from an algorithm. The right for yours and my data to be removed and, if need be, forgotten, to be sure big corporate cannot profit from yours and my work. Enforcement is critical. We propose a national regulatory body to oversee these protections, strong whistleblower safeguards, and the right for workers to take legal action when their rights are violated. Finally, we urge our union to lead the way. We must develop an industrial strategy and establish a national project group to research, educate and train workers for the AI-driven future. This group should report back to Congress in 2026 with a comprehensive strategy. Colleagues, AI must not be a tool for exploitation or exclusion. With transparency, accountability and robust protections, we can ensure that no worker is left behind in this technological revolution. I move.
Thank you, Alison. Seconder.
Hello, Congress, President. Jamie Walker, London Region, proud to second this vital motion on workers' protection from artificial intelligence. As we've heard from my colleague there, AI is already reshaping our workplaces, but too often workers are left powerless, subject to decisions made by invisible algorithms with either no right to appeal or highly obfuscated by unscrupulous programmers and employers. This is not the future we want for our members. Transparency is not just a technical issue, it's a matter of fairness and dignity. Workers deserve to know how decisions about their jobs are made. They deserve the right to challenge unfair outcomes and be informed about changes that affect their livelihoods. Job security must be at the heart of our response to AI. If roles are lost to automation, employers must be required to support workers through retraining, redeployment, fair compensation and real opportunities to move into new roles, not just promises. We cannot allow technology to become an excuse for abandoning our responsibilities to working people. And we also need strong safeguards against bias, data misuse and onward distribution of data that we may have given over. Algorithms can perpetuate discrimination unless they're properly audited and overseen by us, by workers, by people, by humans. We all know that lazy employers will throw everything into the AI pot, just thinking about cost savings rather than about us. Workers must have a seat at the table whenever AI is being implemented, and recognition agreements should be scrutinised and possibly rewritten to recognise the need for clear policy when it comes to AI in every sector that we work in. This motion sets out a clear, practical path for protecting our members in the age of AI. There's plenty of information in the written one. Please take a look at it. I urge Congress to support this motion and stand up for workers' rights in this digital age. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Anyone wish to speak against these motions? If not, I'll call on the CEC Speaker, Dean Gilligan. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, President. Congress, good morning. This is not really in opposition, but it's motion 132, Wales and South West. I think it's a good motion. I agree with the sentiment, but I think it's misguided. The New Deal for Working People wants day one working rights, not after probation. So I think, really, you've got to explain what you mean on this, because, you know, probations can last up to a year, sometimes longer if people are doing apprenticeships. And, you know, the New Deal for Working People and our demands and our union policy is for day one working rights, not working rights after a probation that could last up to 18 months. So I'd be really grateful if you could explain your thinking behind that. Thank you.
Thank you, James. With it not being against, it not need a reply. I now call on Dean Gilligan.
Good morning. Chair, Congress, Dean Gilligan, responding on behalf of the CEC to motions 130 and 133. The CEC is supporting all of these motions and the composite with qualifications. On motion 130, we know that collective grievance procedures can help build union membership at work by strengthening our members' voices and making it easier to provide collective solutions and benefit everyone in the workplace without the need for litigation. The CEC's qualification that reassessed and updated procedures in ACAS guidance need to be addressed as part of the broader package of employment rights being delivered by the Labour government. We should also not inadvertently introduce procedural traps that might impact negatively on our litigated cases, as was the case with the statutory grievance and disciplinary procedures regime that in place between 2004 and 2009 under the last Labour government. Likewise, the CEC is supporting motion 133 with a qualification. This motion rightly calls for worker or employee rights to information that is gathered and used about them through AI systems. This is one of the most important debates of a generation regarding ownership of and profit from personal data. Our qualification is that we will work with existing section committees and industrial sector committee groups to consult and campaign on this matter. Therefore, the CEC is asking Congress to support motions 130 and 133 with the qualifications I have outlined. And thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Could the movers of motion 267, 268, 269 and 270 come to the front, please? Does North Eastern Yorkshire accept the qualification on 130? Does London accept the qualification 133? Yeah. Colleagues, the CC is supporting all these three motions. We'll now go to the vote. All those in favour of 130? Any against? That's carried. All those in favour of 132? Any against? That's carried. And all those in favour of 133? Any against? That's carried. Could I have the Speaker of motion 267 to the rostrum, please?
President, Congress, Ben Campbell-White, London Region, moving motion 267, rough sleeping. Each night, thousands of British people sleep rough, in parks, under bridges, in shop doorways or in their cars. They are veterans, young people, working families, and far too often people struggling with mental health or addiction. Rough sleeping is the most visible and extreme form of homelessness. It is not just a housing issue, it is a public health crisis, a moral failure, and a stark reminder of the inequality we must confront. For those sleeping rough, every day is a battle for survival. Hygiene becomes a near impossible task without access to washing facilities or clean clothes. Simple tasks like brushing teeth or washing hands, things most of us take for granted, are luxuries beyond reach. This leads to deteriorating physical and mental health, infectious diseases, and further isolation from society. Sleeping rough strips people of their safety. Vulnerable individuals are often subjected to violence, theft, harassment, and exploitation. This level of exposure and fear takes an immense psychological toll, often deepening trauma and worsening mental health. It also makes recovery even harder. How can anyone rebuild their life under constant threat? Rough sleepers are exposed to rain, snow, and freezing temperatures without adequate insulation, heat, or protection. In these conditions, sleeping rough is not merely uncomfortable, it can be life-threatening. No one should die for a lack of roof over their head. We need real prevention. We need a national strategy that moves beyond short-term fixes and band-aid solutions. Without a stable address, access to showers, or even a place to rest, how can someone hold down a job? The system not only neglects them, it actively locks them out of the very opportunities that could lift them out of homelessness. Rough sleeping is not merely a consequence of homelessness, but a manifestation of deeper societal issues. Factors such as a lack of affordable housing, unemployment, financial instability, and family breakdown contribute significantly to this crisis. Moreover, many individuals on the streets grapple with unrelated mental health issues, substance abuse, and social isolation, which are often exacerbated by life on the streets, creating a vicious cycle. We need to listen to those with lived experience because they know what works and what doesn't. The decisions that shape their reality are made in offices far removed from the streets, by people who may never have had a real conversation with someone who's lost everything. Policies are drawn up with good intentions, maybe, but without a grounded understanding of what it truly means to be homeless in Britain today. We cannot keep making decisions from the top down without listening to those at the bottom looking up for help. We need to invest in permanent supportive housing. We need to improve access to mental health and addiction services. We need to ensure that no one is discharged from hospital, prison or foster care into homelessness. We need to ensure more is done to help victims of domestic violence to ensure that by fleeing their homes, they are not faced with homelessness. With sustained investment, a focus on prevention and a commitment to collaborative action, we can ensure that everyone has a safe and secure place to call home. Congress, please support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Seconder.
Good morning, Congress and President. I'm Shantu Ferdous, a proud GMB London Region member. Yes, I'm first-time delegate and first-time speaker. Thank you so much, all comrades, but I need your support for the motion of rough sleeping. I am seconding these motions. Homelessness in the UK has been increased because of various reasons, like higher private rents and also cost of living crisis hitting hard, and lack of affordable social housing, being evicted from privately rented homes, especially through no-fault evictions, plays a big role on these issues. The longer someone experiences rough sleeping, more likely it is they will develop physical and mental health needs and substance misuse issues. We have witnessed 14 years of tourist austerity. They didn't build enough affordable homes for people. So that's why we have been seeing many rough sleepers on the street. Every single person has a right to a home, and Tory never made a policy for no-fault eviction to protect tenant rights. Because of many councils have faced significant financial crises to accommodate their people in temporary accommodations. Therefore, I ask your Labour government to continue invest more in the housing sector by building more affordable homes in keeping their manifesto promises and prevent rough sleepers, which have grown up over 14 years. Congress, I urge you to support this motion. I second. Thank you.
Thank you, colleague. 268.
President, Congress, Stephen Voller, London Region. Moving motion 268. Council tax a fairer system for all. Every year, council tax rises to extortionate levels beyond the reach of pockets of most households and working families. Some of the criteria used to assess and justify the changes of the property for the banding are as follows: size, layout, character, location, and value. If you adapt part of your property so that a relative can live with you, it has a separate entrance. If it has a separate entrance, but still the same property, the government says that it must have its own banding. So you end up paying 2 council bills. For the same property, residence properties are built on one plot of land, which comes with the price of the property at no extra cost. Therefore, one council tax bill should cover for any change or adaptations to the property, so we thought. Cost of living rises every year without fail, and so does all household utility bills, including council tax. If you're already paying council tax for the property, why should you be made to pay separate for any changes made to the same property, which means you will pay twice? Plus, the annual increase, this is just an example of exploitation from an unfair policy from the government. The GMB must seek to pursue the government for a new, fairer system that will work for all. Please support this motion. I move.
Thank you, Stephen. Seconder.
Supporting motions 268, council tax, a fairer system for all. President, fellow delegates, Brendan Duffield, London Region. I support motion 268 because it highlights a real injustice affecting working families. Picture this: you live in England and your elderly mum needs care, so you convert a part of the house into a separate flat. Suddenly, the council sends you 2 separate bills. You can apply for 50% discount if mum is independent, or full extension if she dependent and meets the criteria, certain criteria. Switch to Wales, there's a completely exemption if mum is dependent and either over 65, severely mentally impaired or substantially disabled. Switch to Scotland and Northern Ireland, no annex discount at all. This is a penalty on families doing the right things. We have a country lottery where English families might get help, Welsh families might not be charged at all, and Scots and Irish families get charged twice. This hits the working family hardest. Ordinary families extend their homes to care for parents should not be hammered with double taxation. It should be one property, one family, one fair bill, no complications. I urge you to support this motion because fairness shouldn't depend on which side of the border you live. Support this motion.
Thank you, Brendan. Seconder. Second to 268. You're second. Apologise for that. Move of 269.
Oh, heck. Can't believe I've done this. Good morning, Vice President. I'm Susan Paxford, North Western Irish Region, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Thank you. Moving motion 269, affordable housing for the 21st century. Congress, when you become a parent, you begin to plan your children's lives. School, college, university, and moving into their own homes. Fast forward, and we get to the point in their lives when everything we wanted for our children has happened. Except for one thing, our young people are stuck. And they're stuck at home with us, and I'm a mum. Since 2021, the number of first-time buyers aged 25 to 34 has reduced by 12%. Whilst only 39% of first-time buyers are under 20. In addition to this, the average age of first-time buyers increased from 32 to 34 years old. So what are some of the factors for these changes? Reasons include, but not limited to, rising mortgage rates, increasing house prices, not being able to afford property within their own towns, higher cost of living pressures, the lack of houses being able to be purchased due to people extending properties so they don't move on, rather than moving into a bigger property because they can't afford it. The selling off of local council housing, leaving less properties to rent and having to pay high rents through the private sector. As a public sector worker, I know we're feeling the brunt of being unable to buy houses due to low wages. A disappointing 3.2% pay increase this year will not cover the level of inflation. Never mind, say, for a house deposit, we are worth more. Due to these factors, adults under 30 are remaining in the family home. This can cause further pressures on families, causing arguments and stress with too many adults within the property. Parents will see the children as children. They'll do all the cooking, cleaning and paying the bills. Young adults want their independence. They're becoming frustrated by the situation and are being forced into living under someone else's roof and rules. They're working adult jobs but are still unable to afford to buy a property. This is affecting their dignity, self-respect and mental health. Young working adults, public sector workers, key workers, etc. should be able to afford a mortgage. You should have your own homes. It's a basic. Young adults should have the freedom to become independent by living alone or with their partners, looking to a future away from their parents. Furthermore, we need our union to fight for the following: lobby the government to deliver on their manifesto promises, especially the building of 1.5 million new homes, maintain the first-time buyers ISAs, nil deposits or a maximum of 5% deposit for first-time buyers and local government workers, key workers, NHS workers, stopping the enforcing through local government and planning the building of 4 and 5 bedroom homes and looking to build more 2-3 bedroom starter homes for young people and again public sector workers, NHS workers. A ban on landlords being able to buy affordable homes and rent them at exorbitant rents. These homes are purely to be built and bought and lived in as starter homes and not for profit. Until these issues are resolved, our young workers, people, local government, key workers, NHS workers remain stuck in a high rent culture, unable to save for deposit, or they're stuck living with the parents. Our young people, families, public sector workers, my daughter should be able to aim high, should have a home and should be able to achieve their dreams. Thank you. I move the motion.
Thank you, Susan. Seconder.
Morning Congress, Vice President Andrew Trickett, North Western Irish Region, seconding motion 269. Congress, this motion is not just about buildings, but rather about dignity, stability and justice. We are living in an era where economic growth too often leaves behind those most in need. Families are being priced out of their own neighbourhoods. Young people are locked out of home ownership. And for too many, the simple human right to shelter has become a daily struggle. Affordable housing is not a fringe issue. It is central to economic opportunity, public health and social cohesion. And the solutions must be 21st century solutions, smart, sustainable, inclusive and scalable. That means rethinking zoning, investing in social housing, incentivising innovation in construction and ensuring that housing is not just available but accessible and equitable. We must build not only more affordable homes, but better futures. Congress, I second.
Thank you, Andrew. Mover of 270.
Good morning, President, Vice President, Congress. Graham Williams, dyslexia since 1995, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Thank you. I'm here today to talk about Motion 270, support for Lesness estate occupation. This motion calls on Congress to show their support for residents of the South London Housing Association who rightly disagree with the words regeneration, which they believe is misleading. Regeneration here refers to the demolition of hundreds of social housing homes, no freehold tenancies, no assured tenancies, and the relocation of the permanent traveller community. Housing Association figures release show of 2,000 new homes, less than 3%, 60 homes, will be for social housing. The remaining will be either for part-by-part rents or for the luxury housing market. This sounds like regeneration, or does it sound like gentrification? Residents of the Lesness estate protested to the Tory Council back in April this year with demands for the support to their campaign against the Housing Association's plan to demolish the remaining homes in their community. After the residents campaigned, seized the opportunity and took occupation of one of the empty homes. Campaign demands were simple: the immediate opening of the boarded up homes. Hundreds of social housing properties are boarded up, whilst the Tory Council have thousands of people on waiting lists for emergency housing. Many of these homes have been empty since before 2020. The remainder of the regeneration area sees large areas of their regeneration part of the estate boarded off, containing either mass amounts of rubble, concrete, or vast empty spaces. These were former working class homes for generations, now flattened to the ground. Much of the land has not been worked on for over 5 years and could have easily temporarily housed many of those thousands on the social housing list. Lesness residents argue for the Housing Association should either refurbish the estate or the council should step in and do it themselves. Save Lesness from demolition. The Housing Association is allocating new homes, so those residents of the 3% waiting list are now being housed in the 1960s accommodation. Since the takeover, the South London Housing Association is charging those new tenants living in the 1960s properties the full market value. The current Housing Association tenants on the remainder of the estate are currently paying between £500 and £600 per month as they are on low market wages. They have been informed that their rents will be going up in due time to between £1,200 and £1,600 per month. New renters are being charged this rent now. That is being charged on housing benefit. That charge for is being charged to housing benefit to taxpayers, you and I. This plight is not unique to this one housing association. Lesness campaign, support for your support, sharing the campaigns on your social media.
Can you wind up, please, now, Graham?
Put housing association legislation protections back on the list. Thank you for this motion.
Thank you, Graham. Seconder.
President, Vice President, gentlemen, esteemed guests. I'm Ashley R, Southern Region, seconding motion 270. First time speaker, first time delegate. We stand with the brave residents of Lesness Estate. Individuals have spent decades building their lives, contributing their community and calling this place home. They're not simply fighting for walls and roofs, they're fighting for dignity, security and the right to remain in the spaces they have cherished. It's deeply troubling that a housing association entrusted with providing homes is now threatening to uproot people, many of whom are retirees, have worked tirelessly their entire lives, only to face the possibility of displacement in their later years. Their struggle is not just about housing, it's about the fundamental right to belong. The Tory Council has greenlit the plans that disregard the voices of those who wish to stay. Residents are led to believe their homes will be refurbished and not demolished. They were promised a fair deal, yet the compensation offered makes securing another home in London impossible. This is not regeneration, it's a forced removal and it must be challenged. The campaigners are simply asking for a real conversation with Peabody's executive leadership, the opportunity to discuss alternatives like refurbishing empty homes instead of tearing them down. How can a plan be called progress when it disregards the people it affects the most? The occupation is a simple symbol of resistance. Residents also argue that the so-called regeneration plans are a veiled attempt at social cleansing, targeting mostly the West African community that live on the Lesness estate. The pensioners have held their ground for 6 days occupying an empty property must remind us all that injustice is worth fighting for. Their defiance echoes the truth. Homes are not commodities. Communities are not bargaining chips. We call on Peabody, we call on Bexley Council, we call on Mayor Sadiq Khan. You must listen to these residents, acknowledge their right to stay and offer real solutions. If regeneration is truly for the people, then let the people have their say in how it unfolds. Lesness Estate does not belong to developers or investors. It belongs to its residents, past, present and future. Let us stand together, let's amplify their voices, and let us ensure that any human being should not be cast aside for the sake of profit. Congress, I second this motion.
Thank you, Ashley. Anyone wish to speak in opposition? If not, can I call on Ian Clark to give the CEC qualifications?
President, Congress, Ian Clark, Midlands Region, speaking on behalf of the CEC to outline the stance on motions 268, 270. On motion 268, Council Tax, a fairer system for all, from London Region, the CEC shares the motion's fundamental goal. Council tax must be modernised so it can stop hitting the poorest household hardest while starving local authorities of stable revenue. Congress will recall that our 2019 special report on local government and austerity set out exactly that ambition, a fair, progressive, redistributive framework for local funding. Motion 268 sits squarely within that policy. Our qualification is a simple one of leverage. Central government alone can legislate systematic reform. Our direct lobbying power in Westminster is this issue will always be limited. The GMB can most effectively improve members' living standards today is by winning better pay conditions for the lowest paid staff inside local government and beyond. We therefore urge Congress to support motion 268 with this practical qualification. Turning now to motion 270, support for Lesness, occupation and campaign text. With Southern Region, the campaign in Lesness shines a light on national problem. Ageing housing estates allow the decay until demolition appears inevitable. GMB backs the residents' fight for safe, well-maintained homes. Our qualification, however, concerns resources, whether to donate funds or to amplify campaigning on social media rightly rests with the individual branches and regions. They know their budgets and local priorities best. The CEC therefore supports the motion while affirming that any financial or promotional contributions remain at branch and regional discretion. In summary, Congress, the CEC recommends that both motions 268, 270 will be carried with the stated qualifications. Should these qualifications not be accepted, we would ask Congress to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Okay, Congress, I'm now going to suspend business on those motions as I've been told that our political speaker is here and she's on a tight schedule. So let me introduce. When we met in Bournemouth last year, it was during the general election campaign. Then on the 4th of July, the UK voted for change. Finally, after 14 long years, we saw the back of that dreadful the Tories and elected a Labour government. This is the first GMB Congress held under a Labour government since 2009. When we gathered in Blackpool, we heard from the then Prime Minister Gordon Brown. I'm delighted to say that in 2025, we are now joined by another senior government minister. Just as important to us, she is also a long-standing GMB member. Congress, please join me in welcoming Rachel Reeves MP, Chancellor of the Exchequer, to address Congress. She is coming, she's on her way down. She is coming, I promise you, I promise you. Shall I introduce her again?
Just say this, she was just getting down on the way down. It was just about 4 to 6.
Okay, look, if you want to sit down, I'll introduce her again. I will introduce her again. When I've got the nod. No, I won't take the votes, it's too long. Do you want me to take them? No, I'm not going to. You see it? Right, okay, let me introduce again, all right? Congress, please join me in welcoming Rachel Reeves MP, Chancellor of the Exchequer, to address Congress.
Thank you. Thank you for that welcome. Thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Gary, for the leadership that you showed to our union and to our movement. It's great to be back in Brighton, and it's a privilege to be back at the GMB Congress as a proud member of the GMB Union. Congress, I especially want to thank you all here for the tireless work that the GMB representatives do in so many workplaces. I know how difficult the last few years has been for many members, from the pandemic through the cost of living crisis. Working people paid the price for the Conservatives' failure, for their austerity, for their undermining of our public services, and for Liz Truss's fantasy economics. Never let anyone forget what the Conservatives did to our country. Never trust them again with our health service, with our schools, or with British industry. I know that your members have had to pick up the pieces, and so has this Labour government. But we are making different choices. To put more money in the pockets of working people, we are making Labour choices. And the choice in October to give a pay rise to 3 million workers of up to £1,400 a year by raising the national living wage, a national minimum wage created by Labour, raised by Labour too, together with amending the remit of the Low Pay Commission, so that for the first time, the living wage will take into account the cost of living. The choice of our Employment Rights Bill, the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, a key part of our plan to make work pay for working people. Banning exploitative zero-hour contracts and unscrupulous fire and rehire practices, strengthening sick pay and bringing the outdated, unfair, conflictual industrial relations framework that we inherited from the Conservatives into the 21st century. That is the choice that this government is making. And another choice, one that I know was very close to the heart of our former president, the late, great Mary Turner. Our decision announced last week to extend free school meals to an extra 500,000 kids, to save working families up to 500 years and lift 100,000 children out of poverty. That is the difference a Labour government makes. That is a testament to Mary's campaigning. Now, I know that there is another political party which will tell your members that they have working people's interests at heart. So remember this and tell it to the people that you work with. While Labour is levelling up workers' rights, Nigel Farage and Reform opposed the Employment Rights Bill. While Labour is investing in our National Health Service, Nigel Farage and Reform want to privatise our National Health Service. And while Labour is investing in security for our nation and for our allies, Nigel Farage and Reform are not on the side of the heroic people of Ukraine. They're on Russia's side instead. That's Reform, tough on workers, tough on patients, but soft on Putin. Congress, we are making progress. It is just one quarter, but the most recent numbers showed that Britain to be the fastest growing economy in the G7. 4 cuts to interest rates since August last year, saving working families taking out a new mortgage hundreds of pounds every year. And real wages have risen more in the first 10 months of this Labour government than they did in the first 10 years of the last Conservative government. Now, I know that not enough working people are yet feeling that progress. And that's what tomorrow's spending review is all about. Making working people better off. Investing in our security. Investing in our health. Investing in our economy. This government is going for growth because that is the best way to create jobs, boost wages, lift people out of poverty and sustainably fund our schools and our hospitals and all the public services we rely on. And we're doing things differently. Because unlike the Tories, I don't think that the only good thing that a government can do is get out of the way. I believe in an active government, working alongside industry and trade unions to drive our shared prosperity. That is why we will be publishing our modern industrial strategy later this month. An industrial strategy based on genuine partnership between government, industry and trade unions. And that is why tomorrow we will be allocating an extra £113 billion of investment, maintaining public investment at its highest sustained levels since the 1970s. And unlike the Tories, I know that we can't build a strong economy on the contribution of just a few people, a few industries, or a few parts of our country. We're going for growth, growth in every part of our country, with the benefits felt in every part of our country. So we are investing right across Britain. That's why I was pleased to announce last week the biggest ever investment, £15.6 billion, in transport links within our city regions and their surrounding towns. Better linking up Liverpool with St Helens, Manchester with Rochdale, Sheffield with Rotherham, Leeds with Bradford and Birmingham with Solihull. And tomorrow there will be more. We promised investment in every part of Britain and that is what I will deliver tomorrow. And Congress, I know the contribution your members make to the defence of our country, in aerospace, in defence and in shipbuilding. And I know that the first duty of any government is to keep our citizens safe. Today we live in a dangerous world where new threats demand a new response. So we are investing in the defence of our country and in the strength of our defence industry, in the good union jobs that come with it, and in the communities that rely on them. Bringing defence spending up to 2.6% of GDP within 2 years. Investing in a battle-ready nation supported by homegrown technologies. And investing in British jobs and British industry, including the investments that we have set out today in our nuclear defence, in Plymouth and in Derby, in Barrow and in the Clyde. If you want a taste of what that can mean for working-class communities, look at our plan for Barrow. Good, proud work for people in Barrow, building Britain's nuclear submarines, providing training and opportunities for our young people, decent pay that flows back into the local economy and high street, and a partnership between the Labour Council, this Labour government, and BAE Systems to invest in the regeneration of the town centre. Pride in your work, pride in your community, a strong Britain with strong defences, resting on the talent, the effort and the prosperity of working people. But security does not stop with our armed forces. It is about making sure that in a world where energy prices were sent spiralling by events in another part of the world, or fragile international supply chains can be easily disrupted, that we must be a more self-sufficient nation. And we have been reminded so forcefully in recent years, energy security is national security. I know Gary and the GMB have always understood that. And so because it is the right choice for jobs and for the cost of living, because it is the right choice for economic growth, and because it is the right choice for energy security, I can announce today to you that this Labour government is investing in the biggest rollout of nuclear power in a generation. This government is giving our full backing to the Sizewell C nuclear plant, providing £14.2 billion of additional funding for the first directly state-funded nuclear power station since 1988, producing the energy to power 6 million homes, employing 10,000 people, supporting thousands more jobs across the UK, including 1,500 apprenticeships, and putting hundreds of millions of pounds into the supply chain. And that's not all, Congress. Because this government backs British innovation, and because the potential for faster, cleaner, cheaper energy is there, we will be backing new small modular reactors, investing in that technology and in the rapid deployment of fusion technology, backing our world-leading fusion plant in Nottinghamshire, providing a route for private sector-led advanced nuclear projects to be deployed here in the UK, bringing those jobs to Britain. The International Energy Agency estimates that the small modular reactor market will be worth up to £500 billion by 2050. So if we want those jobs, we want that wealth, and we want to lead the world, then we must act today. And we are. To start, that means investing £2.5 billion to enable one of the world's first small modular reactor programmes, supporting 3,000 jobs in the East Midlands in the process. A first step towards our ambition for a full fleet of small modular reactors across our country. And I can tell you today that following a 2-year competition, we have selected the preferred company to partner with Great British Nuclear to develop small modular reactors. That preferred partner is Rolls-Royce, a great British business based in Derby. And Congress, I can tell you now that taken together, tomorrow's spending review sets out over £30 billion of investment in Britain's nuclear-powered future. Friends, this Labour government is launching a new era of nuclear power here in Britain. And as we build for transport, for jobs, for energy, that will mean jobs in British supply chains for our young people. Today's announcements are another step towards that Great British nuclear ambition to make sure 70% of its future fleet is made here with homegrown content. We've already taken steps to modernise our approach to public procurement with simpler rules and a focus on growth here at home. And we will look to go even further to reform and streamline those procurement processes. And because our industrial ambitions rely on the ambitions and the talents of our young people, we will break down the barriers that those young people face in getting the skills and opportunities they want and deserve. And a strong national economy, investing in new nuclear, new transport, new military hardware, will mean something else too. New orders for steel. Steel made in Britain. In April, as a government, we faced a choice: to allow British Steel in Scunthorpe to go under, or to intervene in a way that British governments have been too reluctant to do for far too long. I was not prepared to tolerate a situation in which Britain's steel capacity was fundamentally undermined, in which our infrastructure, our industries, our security would become dependent on imported steel. And I was not prepared to see another working-class community lose the pride, lose the prosperity and the dignity that industry provides. So this Labour government intervened to save British Steel and the thousands of jobs that go with it. And I can tell you today that the package that I have set out will provide more than £420 million of additional funding for Sheffield Forgemasters, for the production of nuclear-grade steel for our nuclear ambitions. Thriving steel, thriving defence and thriving energy industries, with Made in Britain a mark of quality around the world. Industries that bring pride, industries that bring good work, and wages that flow back onto our high streets and into our communities. Once again, things made in Britain, things made to last. Congress, I know whose side I am on. I know whose side this government is on. We promised you a government in the service of working people, a government backing Britain's industry, backing Britain's jobs, and backing Britain's workers. Consider that a promise made and a promise kept. Thank you, Congress.
Rachel. Rachel, thank you for your speech. We will now move to questions from delegates in the hall. First, we'll hear from Anne Weeks from the London region, followed by Lee Burgess from the North West and Irish region.
Hi, Anne Weeks, London region, Chair of Ability, London region Disabled Self-Organised Group. Proposed welfare reforms will push over 3 million households into greater financial hardship, including 800,000 losing access to personal independence payments, 150,000 losing carers allowance, and over 2 million seeing reductions in health-related universal credit. This is wrong. Will the government listen and think again?
Thank you for that question. We are in a situation today where, despite the number of people in work rising in almost every country in the world since the pandemic, people of working age out of work, economically inactive, is increasing in Britain. And the last Conservative government didn't do nearly enough to support people, including people with sickness and disability challenges, back into work. And that's why we promised in the spring statement a few weeks ago to put £1 billion into supporting people into work. We know that with the right support, there are millions of people who would like to work, who can work, and with the support would be able to get back into work. So alongside the changes we're making, which will still see the number of people on personal independence payments increase during this Parliament, we'll still see the amount of money spent on sickness and disability benefits increase in this Parliament, that we will support people as well to get back into work. But the current system that we have today is not sustainable. And I want to ensure that the welfare state is there for future generations. But to do that, we do need to make sure that everyone who can work is given the support and the dignity that work can provide for so many people. And so, of course, we will always protect those who can't work, but more needs to be done to fulfil the ambitions of people with disabilities themselves to get back into work and have a career and a vocation that they can be proud of and contribute to their finances and also the nation's finances.
Thank you. And apologies, it's Keir Wilson from North West and Irish region.
Hi, Keir Wilson, North West and Irish region. The government's increased investment in defence is very welcome, but it must be matched by action to grow the skilled workforce our national security depends on. What guarantees can the government give that will prioritise UK-based jobs and apprenticeships, particularly in places like Barrow?
Yeah. Thank you for that question, and that is exactly what we want to do as a government. As I said in my speech, as we invest in transport, in defence, in energy, we want to make sure that those jobs are here in Britain and that we're giving opportunities for our young people. And I'm going to set out more detail around further education and apprenticeship funding tomorrow to ensure that young people have those opportunities to get access to those jobs that we are creating, good jobs that pay decent wages, unionised jobs with rights. And that's what we're going to do. So I've set out the industries that we're going to be backing in my speech today to you at the GMB. And tomorrow I'll be setting out how we're going to use government procurement, apprenticeships and skills to make sure that those jobs go to young people in this country who deserve a chance.
Thank you, Rachel. Next, we'll hear from Sharon Yates from the Midlands region and Kim Inglis from the North East Yorkshire and Humber region.
Hi, Rachel. I'm Sharon Yates from the Midlands region, and I'm a proud working class woman from the pottery industry. And please, please listen very carefully to this question because it's very, very important. The UK has become the highest industry energy prices in Europe. In the Midlands, businesses are closing everywhere and skilled workers are losing their jobs. The potteries are being smashed. When will the government take urgent action to bring down the energy costs for the industry and protect jobs in British manufacturing?
Yeah. Sharon, I absolutely... I absolutely get the point that you make, Sharon, and people in this room will know that it is ceramics, it is steel, it is cement, it is agriculture. It is a whole range of sectors where energy prices are making our British businesses uncompetitive with our counterparts around Europe, where energy prices for industry are lower. Now, we're going to be setting out the spending review tomorrow, but a couple of weeks after that, myself and Johnny Reynolds, the business secretary, will be announcing our industrial strategy focused on those 8 key sectors, but we will absolutely come forward with a plan to ensure that our intensive energy industries in the UK, including the potteries industries in Stoke and other parts of the Midlands, can be competitive and can succeed in this tough environment. So absolutely understand what you're saying. We are focused on it as a government, and you'll hear more on that later this month.
Kim Inglis from Sunderland, from the North East Yorkshire and Humber region. The Employment Rights Bill is a big step forward for workers, but it must be just the beginning. My region's running many of equal pay campaigns, 50 years after the Equal Pay Act, and as the first woman Chancellor, will you finally finish the job started by Barbara Castle and make equal pay a reality?
Well, thank you very much for that question, and it's a campaign very close to my heart. It's now 55 years since Barbara Castle introduced that equal pay legislation, and yet the pay gap between men and women is still around 15%. And I'm not willing to wait decades more before we actually achieve that ambition of Barbara Castle and the people she campaigned alongside, including the Ford workers at Dagenham, until we actually achieve equal pay. I said that in my first speech when I became Chancellor of the Exchequer. It's why we are doing things like the Employment Rights Bill. It's why we are increasing the national minimum wage and the national living wage. It's why we're rolling out better childcare, properly funded childcare, so that more parents, but it is particularly mums, can balance work and family life. It's why we're rolling out free breakfast clubs at all primary schools, so parents, and again it is particularly mums, can work more hours or do a job a little bit further away from their kids' school. So it is something that on a personal level means a huge amount to me, and I am determined to be the Chancellor that closes that gender pay gap once and for all. Thank you for your question.
Chancellor, thank you. We know what a busy week this is for you, and although there may be some differences between us, the announcement on Sizewell is so important to our union and our members and shows what we can achieve together. Thank you so much for taking your time to be with us at Congress today.
Thank you, Rachel.
I'll hold you to that. Yeah, well, nuclear power plant 2050. You have the 3 done. I'm forward.
He's just promised me 3 nuclear power stations. See you later.
Congress, we'll now go and take the vote of the last 4 motions. Does London accept the qualification on motion 268? And does Southern accept the qualification on motion 270? We'll go to the vote. The CEC has supported all these motions. All those in favour of 267, please show. Any against? That's carried. Motion 268, all show. Any against? That's carried. 269, support, all show. Any against? That's carried. And 270, all show. Any against? That's carried. Right. Where are we? No, it's here, see it. How do we go? Oh. Right, so we go next. Okay. Congress, can I ask for motions 271, 272, 273 and 285 come to the front, please? And the... And can we have the move of 271 to the rostrum?
President, Congress, my name is Jason Follow. I'm Wales and South West Region, moving motion 271 on managing social housing. Colleagues, every day in every community across our country, people struggle to find a decent, affordable home. Too many of our members are being let down by a system that is fragmented, unfair and too often unaccountable. The current patchwork of housing associations and local authorities mean that people are denied the chance to live where they want and need to be. Let me be clear, housing is a human right. It's not a privilege to be rationed out by those who pick and choose who is deserving. Yet that is exactly what's happened too often. Housing associations can select tenants in ways that local authorities cannot, creating a postcode lottery of opportunity and support. This is wrong and must change. One letting system with one set of clear, fair guidelines would bring much needed transparency and fairness. It would ensure that every family, every individual gets a fair shot at a home in their community, regardless of who is making the decisions behind closed doors. It's not just about allocation, maintenance and repairs are a daily concern for many too. Too often we hear stories of damp, mould and disrepair with residents waiting months, sometimes years, for essential fixes. It's not just an inconvenience, it's a risk to health and well-being. We need stronger regulation to hold landlords, whether councils or housing associations to account. And let's talk about rent. Housing associations charge higher rents than councils, yet offer little in return. This puts additional pressure on already stretched household budgets. One set pricing applied fairly and transparently would help ensure that everyone pays a fair rent for a decent home. In supporting this motion, we are standing up for fairness, accountability and the dignity of every person in need of housing and social housing. Let's send out a clear message. Our members deserve better. Our communities deserve better. Let's make it happen. I move.
Thank you, Jason. Seconder.
Good morning, Congress. Jackie Short, Wales and West Region, seconded motion 271. As my colleague previously so powerfully said, the current system is failing many of our members. I want to share with you what this means for real people, for families, for children, for elderly, residents, who worked all their lives and now find themselves at the mercy of a system that is stacked against them. Imagine living in a home where the heater doesn't work, the damp is creeping up the walls, and your call for help go unanswered. We all know what the mismanagement of social housing looks like. We know what happened with Grenfell, and we know also what happened with little Albert Istak, who died of mould inhalation in his social housing accommodation, despite his parents repeatedly requesting that the association look at that problem. They were told there was no case to answer. This happened when there is a lack of investment, of real investment in these properties. This motion is about putting power back where it belongs, with the people and the communities who need it most. Bringing lettings and inspection back under one authority, that would mean control would be greater, transparency easier to understand. It would remove the postcode lottery away from each of the landlords. And while we're on it, why is it called social housing? It's housing, isn't it? It should be a basic human right for everybody, irrespective of tenure. We also, as my colleague mentioned, talk about the financial burden, the costs of increasing rent, the cost of living, that are having a disproportionate impact of clients who live in social housing. Social housing must be more than just a safety net. I second this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Move of 272.
President, Congress, Georgia Chedsey, Wales and South West Region, moving motion 272. Congress, I am proud to move this motion, a motion rooted in common sense, fairness and community spirit. At a time when our members and their families face sky-high rents, insecure tenancies and housing waiting lists are stretching to years, we must ask ourselves, what are we doing with the power that we already hold? Public service pension funds, our money and our members' money have been invested far and wide, often into projects with little or no connection to the lives of those who earned those pensions. And yet, right here on our doorstep, councils are crying out for funds to build the very thing that communities need most, decent and affordable homes. This motion asks something simple, that our union, through the General Secretary, President and CEC, speak to government and say, let's connect the dots. Let public service pension funds be used at a mutually beneficial rate to lend to local authorities to build council and social housing. It's a win-win. It helps reduce housing waiting lists. It creates skilled, unionised construction jobs in local communities, and it ensures pension investments serve the very people they came from. This is not radical, it's responsible. It's the kind of investment that respects the past, responds to the present, and secures the future. Congress, we talk about the dignity of work and the importance of home. This motion brings the two together. Let's give our members homes they can afford and jobs that they can rely on. I move.
Thank you, Georgia. Seconder.
President, Congress, Suzanne Williams, Wales and South West Region.
Colleagues, I'm honoured to second this motion, and let me say clearly this just makes sense. At the heart of this motion is a simple idea. The pension funds, built by public service workers over a lifetime of commitment, should be invested in ways that reflect their values and serve their communities. Let's stop pouring money into anonymous global markets when we have a real, urgent need here at home. Families desperate for a place to live, councils desperate for the resources to build, and workers desperate for decent, secure jobs. We're not talking charity, we're talking about ethical investment with guaranteed social return. Local authorities get the funds they need. Pension funds get a stable return. Our members get houses and our workers get to build them. This is the sort of initiative that speaks to who we are as a movement: practical, progressive and people-focused. Let's give our members a say in where their money goes. Let us use it to rebuild communities, not just balance spreadsheets. Colleagues, please support this motion. I second.
Thank you, Susanna. Mover of 273.
Good morning, Byron Cook, Midlands Region, moving 273, financial cleansing. Right, I apologise because all you're going to see is the top of my head. Congress, I'll be honest, when this came up at a branch meeting, we debated, what do we call this? And the only thing we could think to describe it as is the cleansing of the poorest people by the richest areas in the UK. And it needs to stop. Let me give you some background on how this works. Local authority main housing duty, a duty to provide temporary accommodation until such a time as the duty is ended, either by an offer of settled accommodation or for another specific reason. So what does that mean in real terms? There is not enough social housing and the private rent is astronomical. So what does an authority in an affluent area do to reduce its cost? It moves the problem elsewhere. The only thing is that the problem is low income, zero income people who, we are not talking just single people, we're talking families as well. Let me give you another example. Mr. and Mrs. Poor and 2 children live in an affluent borough in the UK. Sorry, London, it's down to yourselves, Chelsea. So they currently live in temporary accommodation due to a lack of housing. The authority says to them, we can't afford to house you here, so here's a train ticket. We've sourced you a house 250 miles away in the Midlands. Off you pop. Bash, the problem's now someone else's. Meanwhile, in the Midlands, Mr. Dodgy says, I can make some money here. Chelsea Council will give me a nice incentive to house people outside of the area. I've dilapidated property that no one here can rent. I'm on to a winner. So Mr. Dodgy sets up OK Let's. I kid you not, this was a real company. This was eventually shut down by the local council due to the state of the properties. Then it was renamed and reopened by Mr. Dodgy's brother, cousin, pet hamster. Thus the circle goes on. So Mr. and Mrs. Poor and 2 children get moved to the Midlands, having to start over again knowing no one, leaving friends, family and in some cases jobs behind them. They need to claim the relevant benefits from the local authority, which puts further strain on some of the poorest councils in the UK. It's not just the rent costs that become a burden to the local authorities, but also adds strain to other public resources such as schooling, hospitals, GPs and policing. Some of the most vulnerable people in this position fall victim to county lines. They see an opportunity, swarm in it. I'll pay for you to go and see your friends. Take this package for me. Now you're my mule. As well as CSE and antisocial behaviour, it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet for these gangs. Let me give you a real-life example. We have a member who was a carer in London. She was in the UK on a work visa, so this means no recourse to benefits. But she was doing okay in a job, kept her head above water. They were moved by the local authority from London. She had to leave her job and had no recourse to benefits, so had no income, really struggled to get a job. She had a young baby, and the move plunged them both into advent poverty. A person was previously financially and socially independent, now isolated, with no means to care for her child. Gang violence, and this one struck me. This one did. Gang violence. A GMB member held in her arms the dying body of a teenager after he'd been shot on an industrial estate in where we live.
Byron, can you wind up now, please?
Oh, sorry. Apologies. So the gangs. I call upon the CEC to make union policy to lobby our MPs, our union-backed MPs, to stop this happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Byron. Seconder.
Thank you. Good morning, President, Vice President, General Secretary, Congress. Jacqueline Burnett Pitt, Midland Region, seconding motion 273, Stop Financial Cleansing. I hope by the end of speaking to you that this will solidify what everybody's been talking about in terms of housing. Financial cleansing in the housing sector. The current state, these are some facts I'm going to give you. It shows that around 34,418 households were placed out of area last year. Based on responses from 80% of English councils, this was found in a Freedom of Information. It was found that the incomplete figure suggests a total of 172% above what was officially recorded the previous year. Of the councils that responded to the FOI, placing homeless households more than 200 miles away. Now, for those of you that don't know, I am a housing advice and prevention manager. I can't go into all of the things that happen with homelessness for you. It take up too much time. Moving families so far away due to the cost of housing is very sad. But here's a few little facts that you might need to know and understand. When the Conservative government under Margaret Thatcher, they stopped the authorities from building. They gave the right for people to buy the council properties, which is not a problem. However, the local authorities were not able to backfill. So what happened when those houses were being bought? Hence, this is the consequences years later that we are facing. We now have a national crisis where there's not enough housing for the people who are in need. The housing registers are full to capacity. People can end up waiting several years to be rehoused. The local authorities have
Can you wind up, please, Jacqueline?
Yes, thank you. I'm just asking you, Congress, please support this motion.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Mover of 285.
Morning, Congress, President. Jan Smith, East Dereham Branch, London Region. Move and motion 285 on attendance allowance. Colleagues, delegates, visitors, this motion can affect you all. Excuse me. I am very pleased to propose this important motion to you today, and I hope it grabs your attention as well as your attendance here today. This motion is about raising awareness in claiming attendance allowance. It is, I feel, important in its own right, regardless of the additional current factors that we are facing, like the loss of the winter food allowance and other cuts that are looming for those with disabilities. Many we know are put off claiming much needed and deserved benefits. either through pride or not being aware of such help, or deterred by the complex forms that have to be filled in, and so-called helplines. Colleagues, this particular benefit will be of interest to any retired members or their carers or those soon to retire. I can tell you it is not means tested, it is not taxed, it is per person. It is a much shorter application process than claiming pension credit. Only 32 pages, but not all will apply. Why they have to be so long, I do not know. The higher rate and the lower rate has now gone up since this motion was written by our branch president in his motion factory. Thank you, Harry. The higher rate is now £110 10p per week, or £5,725 20 per annum. But colleagues, here are some tips. Get all your information together before you apply. Medical summary from your doctors. There is no charge for this. Write down, say, over a weekly diary, tasks that you have difficulty doing or can't do as well as you would like. See also the case study, which has been mentioned in this motion. The motion has been written with all the full facts, so if you're not sure, read it and it'll give you the guidance. Nothing is guaranteed, so you've got nothing to lose. Go for it, apply. They might turn you down, which they do in a lot of cases on your first application. You then go through a mandatory appeal. Again, they might turn you down because they're not going to change their minds. But you can go through the full appeal tribunal, which is then completely independent, to which you could then apply. So colleagues, please support this motion. If you feel you've got an illness, even if it's a hidden illness, such as asthma, etc., go for it. I move.
Thank you, Jan. Seconder. Thank you.
Morning, Congress. Alan Law, seconding motion 285. President, Congress, I'm very pleased to second this motion. The more I learn about it, this benefits and the help it could bring to some of our members, the more I need to get behind it. As our mover has said, many are not aware of the benefits or are put off. GMB can help by raising awareness through the GMB website, mailings to members, and through the RMA. Getting such an allowance may help those who are normally family carers, so that the benefit can be used to get extra help at home. But there is no requirement to demonstrate that you have a cleaner, gardener, etc. When I first learned of the motion, I suggested that the NHS app might be used to alert patients to the allowance, as one example. If it is triggered by being retired age and likely to be one more longer-term condition diagnosed, I support the GMB investigating and researching this aspect further. Potentially with GMB MPs, National Health and the Department of Works and Pensions are also relevant other charities. I second.
Thank you, Alan. Does anyone wish to speak against these motions?
Thank you, President. Congress, Jonathan Gregson, North East Yorkshire and Humber. I didn't actually expect to make my first speech in opposition. Speaking against motion 271 about moving social housing to being under local authority control. I agree there needs to be a lot tighter regulation. It's what I do for a living. I deal with housing associations all the time. I deal with my local housing within my council. I work for Bradford Council. It's not flexible enough to move it to local government. Housing associations, there are bad ones. There is regulation. There is not enough regulation. But what I deal with are the smaller ones, the flexible ones that do the stuff that the councils can't. They provide supported housing for elderly people. They provide supported housing for vulnerable people. A lot of them, as we heard from Midlands, temporary accommodation, they deal with that sort of thing. Councils are not flexible enough to deal with this. The regulations aren't in place. The laws and legislation are not in place to deal with this. Therefore, I'll be very quick. I urge you to vote against motion 271. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'll now call on the CC Speaker, Dave Flanagan. Before I do that, does the mover of 271 want a right to reply? Okay, then.
Good afternoon, morning still. Who thought I'd have such a busy morning? Jacqueline Shaw, Wales and West. No, not Wales and West. Wales and South West region. I hear the colleague about his response about local authority. We didn't say local authority. We said one authority. Housing is devolved in Wales, and it's a devolved function. And right now, the Senedd are pondering the second reading of our homelessness bill. I think far too often social housing or housing is overlooked on the agenda, and yet it's pivotal for everything. And yet we allow it to be run by a myriad of organisations with a myriad of policies that are some are subjective, some are clear, and it's always difficult to find that benchmark of where people are at. Some people bid, some people have a numbers waiting list. All we're asking for is a system that is transparent and fair. That our clients, our colleagues, our members understand what they're applying for, what the tenure that they're signing up to is looking like. Our motion goes further to say that whilst there is a devolved function, we need to benchmark how we are dealing with this resource against our other neighbouring authorities. I urge you, Congress, please support this motion, because without it, those years of neglect that social housing has endured and been forgotten about will continue. I urge you to benchmark and bring up that safety net. Thank you, Congress.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Dave.
President Congress, Dave Flanagan, North Western Irish Region, speaking on behalf of the CEC and responding to the debate to set out our positions on motions 271, 272 and 273. On motion 271, managing social housing from Wales and South West Region, the CEC fully supports stronger local authority control of housing stock, provided councils also retain the rental income that makes that control sustainable. Before we can endorse the motion's specific mechanism, however, we need a clearer picture of its knock-on effects for municipal finances and service delivery. For that reason, we ask that 271 be referred for detailed assessment. Referral will allow us to model the revenue flows, scrutinise possible funding gaps and ensure that any transfer of stock leaves councils stronger, not weaker. Moving to motion 272, financial social housing from Wales and South West Region. Congress will know that pension fund money can support affordable housing projects. Manchester's landmark partnership with the Greater Manchester Pension Fund showed the way after the 2008 crash. Yet every such deal was structured to meet the trustees' overriding fiduciary duty to maximise returns for members. As the motion is currently drafted, that safeguard is unclear and could place trustees in conflict with their legal obligations. We therefore propose referring motion 272 to examine how housing investment can be scaled up without jeopardising members' pensions. A referral is the responsible route to square social ambition with fiduciary reality and evolving ESG rules. Finally, on motion 273, stop financial cleansing from Midlands region, the CEC shares the motion's core aim. People should be able to live in the communities they call home, not be priced out by spiralling rents and house prices. Our qualification is one of framing, not intent. What forces families to move is a chronic lack of supply, decades of underinvestment in council housing, and weak regulation of speculative development, rather than a coordinated policy of social cleansing. We are therefore happy to support the motion with this qualification, and we commit to campaign for large-scale, publicly backed house building that tackles the root cause of displacement. In summary, Congress, the CEC is asking that motions 271 and 272 be referred for full financial scrutiny. We are also asking you to support motion 273 with our qualification to address the housing supply crisis head-on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Does Wales South West agree for reference on 271? Because we had someone in opposition, I have to take a vote on it. The CEC are supporting reference back on this. All those in favour, please show. Any against? That's carried. Does Wales and South West refer 272? Thank you. Motion 273, does Midland accept the qualification? Thank you. All those in favour, please show. Any against? That's carried. And motion 285, London, is support. All those in favour, please show. Any against? That's carried. Could I have the motions 101, 102 and 105 to the front, please? And while they're coming down, Congress, we are running a bit ahead of schedule. So we will be bringing forward motions 109, London, and 115, Midland, later this morning. Thank you. Can the mover of 101 come to the rostrum, please? Mover of 101, North Western Irish. Can we have mover of 102, please?
Good morning, Congress. I'm Alex Kapitanek from the Midlands region. Delegate move in 102. Technology has changed how we work. Tablet computers are now used across industries from healthcare to education, retail and logistics. But while they offer convenience, they also create serious ergonomic risks to the current workplace regulations ignore. The 1992 display screen equipment regulations were designed for desktop computers. These regulations were updated in 2002, and for context, the first iPad was released in 2010. As a result, workers using tablet computers are suffering rising rates of neck and back injuries, digital eye screen, and increased sickness, while employers knowingly put workers at risk. According to the Chartered Society of Physical Therapy, work-related neck and back pain has increased by 30% in the last 5 years, with tablet computers being a key factor. Unlike desktop monitors, tablets are often used in poor postures, on laps, on low surfaces, or in my case, in the back of an ambulance. This is causing excessive strain on our neck and backs. The HSE reports that musculoskeletal disorders caused over 7 million lost working days last year, a figure set to rise if we do not act. The British Journal of Occupational Health stated tablets users experience 40% more digital eye strain than desktop computers. Unlike traditional screen, tablets are used at a closer distance, increasing exposure to blue light, causing blurred vision and dry eyes and headaches. Employers already have a legal duty to protect workers under the Health and Safety at Work Act. This includes protecting workers from excessive risks of screen use. This cannot continue. Employers must be held accountable for providing proper eye care protection, safe working spaces for tablet computer users, just as they would do for any other workplace hazard. The DSE regulations do not address tablet portability. Unlike tablet computers, unlike desktops, tablet computers encourage poor posture as they are used in varied unsupported positions. The regulations focus on keyboards and mice, ignoring increased risk from repetitive strain from touchscreen use. The regulations predate modern high-intensity screens, failing to address blue light exposure and close-range viewing risks. We cannot afford to wait another decade or two for change. This Congress should push for action and overhaul to the DSE regulations to ensure tablet-specific protections, hold employers accountable for ergonomic training and equipment, including tablet stands, external keyboards, and posture guidance. The expansion of vision care protections, ensuring free eye tests for tablet users. In conclusion, if technology is advancing, our protections must advance too. If employers won't act, we should. I move.
Thank you, Alexander. Seconder. Colleagues, I've had a request to ask you if you can be a little more quieter while the rostrum's speaking. Thank you.
Ashton Green, GMB Midlands Region. Today I stand to second motion 102. As an NHS flow coordinator, I spend 12 hours a day in front of screens, navigating systems that are essential to patient care. While technologies support our work, prolonged screen exposure affects our health and well-being in many ways. Recent developments like the use of iPads within our ambulance services, hot desking and remote and hybrid working are not currently covered by UK law fully. The 1992 Health and Safety Display Screen Equipment regulations are outdated and don't reflect today's technology or our understanding of its impact. Despite these regulations, many workers continue to experience discomfort, fatigue, mental strain from excessive screen time. We urgently need updated standards to address the new technologies and ergonomic practices. It's time for Keir Keir Starmer and the Labour government to wake up from Planet Zog, come down to the real world and work alongside the Health and Safety Executive and take decisive action for the benefit of all NHS and ambulance colleagues alongside those of the wider sector. Supporting this motion will create safer, healthier working practices in the environment of today's digital world. Colleagues, support this motion. I second.
Thank you, Ashton. Mover 105.
President, Congress, Alison Gentry, London Region, moving motion 105. Good morning. We gather today with a shared purpose to cultivate workplaces where every individual feels safe, respected and empowered to thrive. Our discussions around risk assessments, particularly those informed by the stark realities highlighted in reports like Race 8 and the notes from Congress, underscore a fundamental truth. The responsibility for workplace safety rests with each and every one of us. Legislation surrounding workplace safety rightly emphasises the employer's duty of care. This includes the responsible processing of information related to our well-being. However, the shadow of conventional violence and harassment which occurs in workplaces and in public spaces across the UK daily reminds us that due diligence cannot stop at the factory floor or the office door. It extends to all work-related activities, including the journeys that bring us together. But today, I also want to speak specifically to the critical need for inclusive risk assessments, assessments that truly see and account for the diverse experiences within our workplaces. For too long, the unique vulnerabilities faced by the black and global majority individuals have been overlooked or rendered invisible in standard risk assessment frameworks. This does not diminish the need for all to be part of these risk assessments, but asks for credence to be given to those who are all too often relegated during such processes to being an afterthought. Think about it. Are our current risk assessment tools truly capturing the nuances of racial bias, gender bias, microaggressions, or the specific forms of harassment that individuals from marginalised communities may experience? Do they adequately consider the impact of systemic inequalities on the individual's sense of safety and belonging? The answer too often is no. This is not merely a matter of fairness, it is a matter of effectiveness. A risk assessment that fails to account for the lived realities of all employees provides an incomplete and completely flawed picture of workplace hazards. It leaves significant gaps in our safety protocols and undermines our collective well-being. Therefore, I propose a shift, a vital evolution in how we approach risk assessments. Our risk assessments must move beyond a singular focus and actively consider the intersecting identities and experiences of our workforce. This means understanding how race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, disability and other factors can compound vulnerabilities. We need to actively seek out and listen to the experiences of black and global majority employees. Their insights are invaluable in identifying blind spots in our current assessments and developing truly effective solutions. Our risk assessment tools and the training that accompanies them must be culturally sensitive and equipped to address issues of bias and discrimination. The establishment and empowerment of black global majority networks and spaces within our workplaces are crucial. These platforms provide vital peer support, create a sense of belonging, and can serve as an invaluable resource for informing more inclusive risk assessments and safety strategies. Risk assessment is not a static exercise. It is an ongoing process of learning, adaptation, and improvement. By embracing a more inclusive and equitable approach, we can transform this essential tool from a generic checklist into a powerful instrument for fostering genuine safety and belonging for everybody. Let us commit to building bridges of safety and belonging, bridges that are strong enough to support the diverse tapestry of our workplaces and ensure that every individual can contribute their talents without fear or prejudice. Let us work together to make our workplaces truly safe, truly inclusive, and truly equitable for all. I move.
Thank you, Alison. Seconder.
Andrew Hewitt, London Region, seconding motion 105. Risk assessments are a vital tool that ensure the health and safety of all workers and must be tailored to individual needs and cover all workers. Risk assessments involve consulting with members to identify potential hazards, evaluating the risks associated with them, and implementing measures to mitigate those risks. Our members have first-hand knowledge of potential hazards in their workplace or travelling to their workplaces. Once we identify hazards, we evaluate the level of risk they pose and implement measures to eliminate or reduce these risks. Congress, risk assessment is not a one-time activity. It should be live and needs ongoing monitoring and regular reviews to ensure control measures remain effective and that new risks are identified as they arise. This is why we need a live toolkit to implement risk assessments in real time. In London Region, we have produced a comprehensive risk assessment template on our website for our reps to complete. We are going to use these to raise awareness and standardise processes across our workplaces. We are developing training materials, courses and interactive sessions that educate members and reps about the risk assessment process. This gives us a mechanism to allow workers to provide constant feedback on the process, as a risk assessment should be considered as a working document with timelines and review dates. Recently, London Region has piloted an IOSH course, which I have completed. This is a nationally recognised qualification and gives us the expertise which is over and above most managers. We use this to tackle management, raise awareness and campaign. Congress, by implementing a live toolkit and dedicating more resources towards health and safety, we empower workers and create a positive safety culture. In line with the New Deal for working people, let's ensure that health and safety reflects the diversity and ever-changing working environments of our workplaces. Together, we can make work safer. Please support motion 105.
Thank you, Andrew. Mover of 106.
President, Congress, Alistair Blundell, moving motion 106. It has been discussed at Congress before, but it was mainly catered to schools. This, I hope, is going to go slightly further. Today, I would like to address you on the matter, and it is of great importance that affects safety, well-being, and the future of our nation. I can say our nation because I'm a proud Scot. I may live in London, but I am from Scotland, as the accent may tell you. It's the crisis surrounding reinforced, autoclaved, activated concrete, or RAC. It was once hailed as an innovative solution for affordable housing infrastructure. However, we now find ourselves grappling with the serious and often dangerous consequences of widespread use of this material in buildings across our great country. Over the past few years, it's become increasingly apparent that RAC, once viewed, like so many things, as a cost-effective alternative to traditional concrete, has a fundamental flaw in its long-term structural integrity, originally used in the construction of schools, hospitals and other public buildings. Due to the lightweight and insulating properties of RAC, has shown to degrade more quickly than anticipated when exposed to the environmental elements and everyday wear and tear. This had led to reports of crumbling roofs, walls, structural weakness, and some of our most critical infrastructure. Recent studies and investigations has uncovered the alarming extent of RAC's failure. for some buildings showing early signs of deterioration well before than their expected lifespan. We cannot ignore the fact that the material may have been used in thousands of public buildings and today is endangering the safety of our citizens, children across the country. It's crucial to acknowledge the human element in this crisis. Behind every building constructed, RAC has students in classrooms, patients in hospitals, and families in their homes where it should be their castle. These people deserve much better, as well as our elderly and vulnerable citizens. They should not have to live in fear and safety while seeking medical care, and our families should not live in fear that their homes that were meant to secure them are failing. We cannot afford to ignore potential disasters looming ahead. I call on our Congress and our Labour government to resolve these issues and take immediate steps to assess the scope of the RAC crisis, starting with a comprehensive review of all public buildings constructed using this material. I move this motion to Congress.
Thank you, Alistair. Seconder.
Does this gadget have a computer? It seems to know when you're short. President Congress, Cathy Holland, London Region, seconding motion 106. Dr. Joa Axel Eriksson, along with Professor Hank Kruger, created RAC concrete. Even then it was known to have a life expectancy of around 30 years. It was invented in Sweden in the 1920s, patented in 1924. It gained popularity in other parts of the world, including the UK in the 1950s, as a cost-effective and easily installed alternative to traditional concrete in the mid-1990s. The collapse of RAC in a roof at a school in Kent highlighted the seriousness of the issue. In 2023, the government issued a safety alert and guidance to building owners regarding RAC. Why, when it was known to have a lifespan of 30 years, was it used in schools and any other buildings, to be quite frankly? In my Essex schools, there has been 62 schools having RAC. Some schools, like my childhood village, Mistley Norman, having to be completely rebuilt, leaving school support staff to be sent to other schools out of the area while the school is rebuilt. And because I now live in Wales, it also affects a concert venue called St David's, which is an amazing venue, and all the staff were made redundant because it's now been closed for a couple of years while they get rid of the RAC. It's such a shame that our people get made redundant because of somebody's mistake. I second.
Thank you, Cathy. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition of the motions? If not, can I call on Jacqueline Murphy for the CEC qualification?
President Congress, Jacqueline Murphy, Midlands Region, speaking on behalf of the CEC and responding to the debate with our stance on motion 106, the RAC crisis from the London region. The CEC supports the call to extend and accelerate the removal of reinforced, autoclaved, aerated concrete from all public buildings, making them safe for those who live in, work in or visit them. This is entirely in line with the GMB's long-standing health and safety priorities. Our one qualification concerns the motion's second ask, to lobby the Health and Safety Executive for statistics linking RAC to mesothelioma. Current evidence shows that mesothelioma is caused by asbestos exposure. There is no credible research linking RAC itself to that disease. Pursuing statistics that the Health and Safety Executive does not and cannot collect would divert effort from the urgent task of getting RAC out of our schools, hospitals and offices. We therefore support the motion with the qualification that our campaigning remains evidence-based, focused on the proven risks and aimed at securing safe replacement or remediation of RAC as quickly as possible. In summary, the CEC asks 106 be carried with the state qualification. If these recommendations are not accepted, we will ask Congress to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. All those in favour of 102, please show. Any against? That's carried. All those in favour of 105, please show. Any against? That's carried. And does the London accept the qualification on 106? All those in favour? Any against? That's carried. Could we have the movers of 103 and 107 to the front, please? Congress, just to inform you all, ballot papers have been distributed to regions and CEC members, and ballot boxes have been placed at either side of the hall. As outlined by the Chair of Standing Orders yesterday, if you arrived late this morning and if you are a delegate, please speak to your regional secretary. If you are a CEC member that has arrived late, please speak to the executive officer. The President ballot paper is on orange paper and the Vice President on green paper. Both ballot boxes can be used for both votes, and you can vote during lunch. The ballot closes at 15:30, and a result will be given at the end of the day. Thank you, colleagues.
Could we have the mover for 103, please?
President, Congress. Wayne Kidger, M55 branch, Nottingham City Council, Midlands Region. Moving motion 103, changes to industrial disease benefit, outdated policy. Congress, I need your support on this workers' issue. It could affect any one of us. Osteoarthritis of the knee, vibration white finger, carpal tunnel syndrome. You can't get these work-related diseases, according to the DWP, unless you've worked in certain jobs. The DWP state a plasterer only puts plaster on a wall. Even when the HSE notify your workplace to change risk assessments and occupational health acknowledge the disease is work-related. I call on the GMB Union nationally to lobby government and the DWP to recognise workplace diseases and remove outdated policy. Congress, I move.
Thank you, Wayne. Seconder. Again, can I just ask people to keep the noise down while the speakers...
President, Congress, Dave Wallace, Midlands Region, seconding motion 103. Congress, there are over 70 prescribed industrial diseases. But just because they're prescribed does not mean to say that you can get a claim for them. I'm told by people who help other people fill in the claim forms that unless you are working in industrial diseases that have been proven in law that the industry has caused that disease. Therefore, someone working in a coal mine could claim for vibration white finger, but someone working on the roads using a machine very similar to the ones as they use for drilling, etc., down the mines, can have their claims turned down, as their work has not been proven in law that it causes the disease. As is the same with many of the other industrial diseases. Therefore, I call upon the GMB National to lobby the government and DWP to acknowledge that workplace diseases can happen in other workplaces. Congress, please support. I second this motion.
Thank you, David. Could I have the mover of 107, which I believe is being moved without the support of the region? If so, could that speaker make that clear, please? Mover of 107? No? They're coming. Okay, we'll wait. Sorry.
President, Congress, Lisa Lavelle, London Region, first-time delegate, first-time speaker. Moving motion 107 without the support of my region. Traffic management safety gloves, manoeuvring vehicles safely. Our refuge workers already wear gloves as part of their daily uniform. Gloves that will help them grip, lift, and protect their hands from sharp objects and hazardous waste. But those gloves are only doing half the job. Because every day across our towns and cities, refuse workers are not just handling bin bags, they are guiding 10-ton trucks through tight streets and busy estates. They step into the role of traffic marshal, directing drivers back and forth with hand signals that are sometimes unclear or easily missed. We have a solution. It is not the only one, but it's simple. Stop and go gloves. These gloves would do everything a standard glove does: protect hands, improve grip, but with one vital difference: a red palm and a green back. This means when a worker holds up their palm, the driver sees red and stops. When they wave forward, the driver sees green and moves. No shouting, no confusion, no climbing in and out of the cab to double-check instructions. Congress, this is not a gimmick. This is about safety, clarity, and efficiency. It is about preventing accidents before they happen. How many times have we heard of near misses or worse involving reversing vehicles or unseen workers? In waste collection, split-second decisions matter. Visual signs matter. And it isn't just about refuge collection. These gloves could be used in delivery depots, warehousing, recycling plants, ports, construction sites, any industry where people and vehicles interact in tight spaces. I note the CEC's concerns, but they aren't the concerns that are shared by our branch activists and reps working in refuge, who put this motion forward. We are not asking the GMB to back a particular brand or supplier. We are asking for common sense, for our union to explore and promote trials of these gloves. And if successful, and well received from employers, to consider these gloves as standard part of PPE. Because if something as simple as colour-coded gloves can make a dangerous task safer and more efficient and more professional, why wouldn't we? Let's be clear, this motion is not supported by our union leadership, but I stand here proudly as a first-time delegate and speaker asking you, Congress, to support this motion, not because it's flashy, but because it's practical, because it's worker-led, and it's a solution that could be rolled out tomorrow, improving lives the day after. Let's continue to send a message that we listen to people doing the work. Let's show that our union leads with ideas from the ground up. Please support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there a seconder for that motion 107? No? Okay, then that motion will fall, but thank you, Lisa, for putting across your point of view. Thank you. Is anybody wants to speak in opposition then to motion 103? No? I'll ask then CEC Speaker Linda Carr-Pollock to come and give the CEC response.
President Congress, Linda Carr-Pollock speaking on behalf of the CEC, responding with our stances on motion 103 and 107 has just fallen, as we've heard, both of which we respectfully were asking regions to withdraw. On motion 103, changes to industrial disease benefit from Midlands region. The Industrial Injuries Disablement Benefit Scheme lists a disease only when robust medical evidence shows it is more than twice as likely to arise from the job as from ordinary life. That so-called prescription test is the cornerstone of the scheme's integrity. It ensures compensation is paid where, on the balance of probabilities, work truly caused the disease. Removing that safeguard would oblige the state to compensate virtually every illness, including widespread conditions with only tenuous or unproven links to employment. Independent analysis warns such a change could add billions of pounds to the social security bill and just as seriously erode the credibility of our campaigning for fair, evidence-based protection for workers. Therefore, the CEC is seeking the withdrawal of motion 103. We would have been asking for the withdrawal of motion 107. However, with that being fallen, we no longer need to ask for that. Should the region decline, the CEC will invite Congress to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Before I take the vote, can I ask movers and seconders of motions 111, 112 and 114 to come down the front, although I think you might already be there. OK, Midlands, do you agree to withdraw 103? OK. That does mean the CEC will be asking you to oppose this motion. No, there is not a reply to the CEC because you already knew the CEC stance before. No, that is the standing orders or the rule. Thank you. OK, so the CEC asking you to oppose motion 103. Can I see all those in favour, please show. All those against? That's lost. That's lost. Can I have we're moving on to motions relating to pensions and retirement, so could I have the mover of motion 111, please?
Morning, Miles Short, Midland Region, calling for Congress to support this motion for workers who have worked for companies for at least 20 or 30 odd years or whatever. Please, can you support this for a state pension and support their families as well? Thank you very much.
That was the shortest moving speech. Well done. Could we have a seconder, please? Again, can I just ask, as you're moving around the hall to place your, put your ballot papers, can you just be as quiet as possible, please, and not make noise for the speaker? Thank you.
Ian Priest, Midlands branch, supporting motion 111, state pensions for all workers. President, Congress, I'm here today to support this motion, a motion not rooted not only in theory, but the harsh lived reality of working families across the country. Every week, every month, millions of workers pay into a system through tax, national insurance, through decades of hard work. We tell them that it's their retirement, their security in later life. But what happens when it doesn't go to plan? When a worker dies before reaching pension age? The truth is, they get nothing. Families get nothing. All those years of contributions gone. Back to the government, no support, no return, no justice. We've seen it firsthand. A hard-working member dies, their loved ones are left not only grieving, but scraping together money for a funeral, selling belongings, taking on debt. This is just not, it's not just a tragic story, it's the reality for thousands of people. And it's not fair. Congress, we are a movement built on fairness and dignity and solidarity. We cannot accept this system. This motion is simple. If you pay in, you earned it. If a worker dies before retirement, their family should receive the pension they would have had and deserve. It's not a charity, it's justice. Please support this motion.
Well done, Ian. Thank you. Mover of motion 112, please.
Clive Merton, Southern Region, moving motion 112. Fair deal for pensioners. President, Congress, brothers and sisters, this Congress notes that for many years, state pension payments have been falling behind the living wage. The difference is forever increasing, so much so that state pension will soon be half the living wage. This causes many retired workers anxiety and financial difficulty. This Congress calls upon the GMB to campaign for better parity with the living wage. According to the government website, the average full-time working hours in Britain are 35 hours a week. This means that the living wage, which is currently £12.21 an hour, equates to over £22,000 per annum. The current state pension is £11,993 per annum, a shortfall of over £10,000 a year on the living wage. A pensioner who has worked 50 years paying tax and national insurance during their working life is then expected to live on half the wages they were on when they retire. The statistics show that there are 1.9 million pensioners living in poverty, and this is increasing every year. It is scandalous that working people, the backbone of the country, are cast aside when they retire and are left financially challenged. Remember, everyone here will retire one day. Do you want to live in poverty, or do you want a fair pension? I move.
Thank you, Clive. Can I have second of motion 112, please?
Okay. President, Congress, I am Rhiannon Griffiths from Southern Region. First-time delegate, first-time speaker. I support a fair deal for pensioners, those who have worked tirelessly, contributed to society and upheld the very foundations of our communities. Their years of dedication deserve to be met with dignity, security and fairness in retirement. Yet many pensioners face financial uncertainty. The rising costs of living and inadequate support after a lifetime of service, they shouldn't be burdened with the fear of making ends meet. A fair deal means guaranteeing pension increases that reflect inflation, ensuring access to quality healthcare and providing support that allows pensioners to live comfortably and independently. This is not just about policy, it's about respect. It's about recognising that those who built the roads we walk, taught the lessons we learnt, and strengthens the economy we rely upon deserve more than just words. They deserve action. I second this motion.
Thank you. Well done. Can I have a mover of motion 114, please?
Miles Short, supporting motion 114, Midland Region. Good morning, Chairman. I'm beginning to wonder about this because I've paid tax all my life since I was 15. 15 paying bloody tax and everything else. And now I'm not keen on dying because I might have to pay inheritance tax. This is a disgrace, absolute disgrace. Like I say, I've paid it, I've paid tax, I've paid tax on my pension. How much more tax am I going to have to pay? And then when I die, I'm still going to pay tax. So can you please support this motion? Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. Seconder for motion 114, please.
Ian Priest, Midlands, supporting this motion. President, Congress, let's call it what it is. It's a tax on grief. From April 2027, the government want to include unused pension funds and death benefits in their inheritance tax. That means death grants from the local government pension scheme will be taxed. At the exact moment, families are at their lowest, struggling with loss. This is not about fairness. It's about squeezing more money from working people who have spent a lifetime serving their communities. Pensions are not perks. They're a promise. And now the promise is being broken. We must protect our members' dignity, their families and their futures. This is a fight for justice. Let's not let this cruel legislation pass. Thank you.
Well done, Ian. Thank you. Does anybody want to speak in opposition to any of those motions? No? Then can I ask Mary Hodgson from the CC to come to the rostrum, please? And can I have movers and seconders of 109 and 115 down the front?
President, Congress. Mary Hutchinson, North East Yorkshire and Humber Region, speaking on behalf of the CEC to outline our stances on motions 111, 112 and 114. Let me begin with motion 111, state funerals for all workers from the Midlands region. We share the motion's fundamental aim. No family should suffer the indignity of being unable to bury a loved one for lack of funds. The CEC therefore supports the principle of financial help, but with one practical qualification. The motion suggests using the deceased worker's state pension entitlement to cover the funeral costs. In reality, Congress, the pension ceases at death and cannot be drawn upon. What is available is the funeral expenses payment, a means-tested grant that already covers burial or cremation fees, transport documentation, and up to £1,000 for other costs. Our task is to press for that safety net to be better funded and more widely advertised, ensuring grieving families can access it quickly and without stigma. With that qualification, we encourage Congress to support motion 111. Turning to motion 112, fair deal for pensioners from the southern region. The motion contends that state pension levels are lagging behind their living wage, but provides no data and does not specify whether it references the real living wage set by the Living Wage Foundation or the national living wage determined by the Low Pay Commission. Because the state pension is protected by the triple lock, rising by at least 2.5% a year, any claim of falling behind needs close scrutiny. The CEC therefore asks that motion 112 be referred so we can examine the evidence in full, clarify the wage benchmark and consider how best to protect pensioner incomes. Finally, Motion 114, Pensions and Inheritance Tax from the Midlands region. We support the motion's call to challenge proposals that would fold local government pension scheme death grants into the deceased member's taxable estate. However, our backing comes with one qualification. Given average LGPS benefit levels, only a small minority of estates would exceed the £325,000 inheritance tax threshold, and the CEC continues to support progressive taxation of substantial wealth transfers. So our focus, therefore, is on ensuring that modest income families are not pulled into the inheritance tax liabilities by the inclusion of death grants. With that understanding, we support Motion 114. In summary, Congress, the CEC recommends supporting Motions 111 and 114 with the qualifications set out, and referring Motion 112 for detailed evidence gathering. Should these recommendations not be accepted, we will invite Congress to oppose. Thank you, Congress.
Thank you, Mary. Does Midlands accept the qualification on motion 11? Yes? Thank you. Thank you. Does Southern agree to refer motion 112? Thank you. And does Midlands accept the qualification on motion 114? Thank you. Don't need to take a vote on 112. All those in favour of motion 111, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's carried. All those in favour of motion 114, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's also carried. Could I have the mover of motion 109, please, to the rostrum?
President, Congress, George Sharkey, London Region, moving motion 109, employer responsibility to provide pension information. Imagine working for decades, contributing to your pension, only to discover at retirement that a change in your working hours 10 years ago dramatically reduces your benefits and no one told you. This is not a far-fetched scenario. It's a reality. Too many employees who make decisions about flexible working, reduced hours, or just job changes without knowing the long-term consequences. That is why I stand firmly in support of the motion, employer responsibility to provide pension information. We're not asking employees to predict the future. We are simply asking them to be transparent about what they already know, how employment changes, such as reducing hours, accepting a low-graded role, or shifting to a flexible schedule can impact an employee's pension. When an employee moves to part-time work, the impact on their future pension isn't always obvious. Contributions both from the employer and the employee can decrease. Accrued benefits may grow more slowly, and the final retirement income may be significantly lower. These are not just administrative details, they are life-altering financial realities. It is vital that employees understand these implications before they make a decision, not after. Without clear, timely information, people can unknowingly make choices that put their retirement security at risk. Some may argue that the employee's responsibility to research their own pensions. But pensions are complicated. They involve calculations most workers aren't trained to make. Employers, on the other hand, are in a unique position to clarify these matters. They already manage pension contributions. They have access to the necessary data, and they often communicate with pension providers. Offering clear guidance is not an undue burden, it's a basic duty of care. Moreover, we are in an era where flexible working is becoming the norm. That's a good thing, but with flexibility must come foresight. If someone chooses to work fewer hours to care for a family member or improve their work-life balance, they deserve to understand how this will affect their retirement income. Transparency builds trust. When employees are open and proactive about pension information, employers can plan more efficiently. They can weigh short-term benefits against long-term impacts. and they can take steps such as making voluntary contributions to mitigate any potential loss. But making a legal requirement for employers to provide detailed pension impact information during changes in work patterns, we're not creating red tape, we are empowering people to make informed decisions about the future. In closing, financial security in retirement should not depend on whether someone asks the right question at the right time. It should be supported by clear, consistent information from those who hold the facts, the employers. Let's ensure no one faces retirement with regret simply because they weren't informed. Please support this motion.
Well done, George. Thank you. Seconder, please.
President, Congress, Tony Chollerton, London Region, seconding motion 109, employment responsibility to provide pension information. Congress, as our terms of employment get more complex, understanding the impact of change gets harder. Employers give us the information we need when we work more flexibly or change the number of hours worked or have our jobs downgraded. But what is not explained is the impact that has on our pensions. This can mean that we are not able to prepare for a decent retirement. This motion calls for this to change and to make it the responsibility of the employer to inform workers of the impact changes to their employment has on their pension. At the moment, it's up to the employee to be able to understand how this will affect their pension. This is not fair or right. By making it necessary for the employer to give information about the impact of employment change to pensions, employees will be able to make informed decisions about their employment and retirement planning. Quite often, small changes to contracts can have considerable impact over many years to a person's pension. With the correct information, this can be corrected long before the damage is too great to deal with. Employers have the information available to them, so this motion is only asking that this is offered proactively rather than leaving it to the employee to find out. Congress, please support this motion. I second.
Thank you, Tony. Mover of motion 115.
President, Congress, Rob Brown from the soon-to-be a manufacturing powerhouse from the Midlands region, R36 branch. Okay, I'm speaking on the motion on phased retirement. Congress, it's been 40 years on from the 1980s when workers eagerly awaited the mantra of work-life balance. But what does that mean in for the modern worker in 2025? In the new age of austerity, work-life balance seems such a pipe dream, and for some living on a minimum wage, times can be harder than they have ever been. Phased retirement, especially for the over 65s, could free up workspaces and encourage a younger, enthusiastic influx into the world of meaningful employment, filling the void created by phased retirees. What we're asking for is the CEC to look into options of reducing the working week on a graduated system, starting on a 4-day down to eventually a 1-day working week, with a guaranteed minimum wage payment, at least for the days off, and a guaranteed pension rights. The days off would include things such as pension advice, even how to join local clubs, hobbies, how to access local transport, and basically utilise what is available in your area to assist life after retirement. For some, retirement is quite scary and daunting. Other people relish it. Some have a plan and some would sadly rather stay at work until they drop. What we're also asking for is for the CEC to look into these options with roadshow information available to all those who are eligible. We know not everybody wants to retire early. However, working to the grave isn't a really good alternative. So, if we could adopt phased end of working life options With advice and a support system, our workers' lives could be seriously enhanced. During lockdown, our factory entered into an early retirement deal with our workforce with some of our workforce turning down this opportunity. Financially, they would have been better off. 27 of those workers opted out of this retirement enhanced packages because most of them said they hadn't got a plan and they were lacking any idea what they could do in the future. Some workers are scared and said if a phased system had been in operation, they would have been armed with the tools for early retirement and would have taken it. So work-life balance isn't a pipe dream. We can make it happen together. I move.
Thank you, Rob. Seconder.
President, Congress, I won't be here too long. I'm Sean Barnes from the mighty Midlands region. I am seconding the motion for phased retirement. We must support our members who have contributed into society and give them the retirement they deserve. I second this. Thank you.
Well done. Anybody want to speak in opposition to either of those motions? No, then can I ask Tracy Beeson from the CEC, please?
President, Congress, Tracy Beeson responding on behalf of the CEC on motion 115. The CEC welcomes the principle behind this motion. Many workers want and increasingly need the option to step down gradually rather than move overnight from full-time employment to full-time retirement. We recognise that the phased retirement arrangements already operate successfully in a range of workplaces. Our qualification concerns pension security, where phased retirement policies are negotiated for the first time. Employers must build in safeguards so that a reduction in hours or pensionable pay does not leave members worse off in retirement. That may mean amending scheme rules, topping up contributions or allowing services to be calculated on the member's previous full-time salary. Without such protections, the flexibility designed to benefit older workers could erode the pensions that have spent a lifetime earning. Therefore, the CEC is asking Congress to support motion 115 with the essential qualification that phased retirement agreements must be accompanied by a clear guarantees that members' final pension will not be harmed. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Does Midlands accept the qualification on motion 115? Thank you. And we're supporting, or CC are supporting, motion 109. All those in favour of motion 109, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's carried. All those in favour of motion 115, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? That's carried. Just got an announcement before the close of business today. At 5:30 today, our young worker activists are meeting. If you are a member under 31, please go to the Quality Department stand at 5:30 today. Reps who want to support younger workers are also welcome. Congress, just before we close, we will show a short video from the Health Services Workers Union in Ghana, wishing us a great Congress.
Beloved comrades, we bring you special greetings and solidarity from the Health Services Workers Union of TUC Ghana. We want to take this opportunity to congratulate you on the occasion of your conference. We acknowledge you as a sister union and representatives of workers in the health sector confronted with numerous challenges ranging from conditions of service, wages and salaries, attrition rates, shortage of staff, regulatory issues, migration and its associated challenges, to mention but a few. On behalf of the leadership and the entire membership of the Health Services Workers Union, We want to urge you, especially during your conference, to come out with pragmatic measures and regulations that will bring significant change for proper governance and operations in the health sectors. We hope your conference will review your policies, evaluate your activities and performance to ensure improved performances of your services for enhanced productivity and more achievements going forward. Once again, we want to congratulate you and wish you a successful conference deliberations. Thank you. God bless you.
That was nice. Thank you. That concludes the business for this morning. So I'll see you back at 2 p.m.